Yeah, I'm recording.
Okay.
I got my video and my audio.
All right.
And I got the...
1 minute. Let's go. Boom. We'll start.
We're going to be on time. Holy crap.
We're not going to start on time because I told you I have a poop coming on.
Wake up, everybody. Today is a good day to die. And we are Never Free to Play, a podcast where we talk about all the video games we wish we were playing. I'm one of your hosts, Karch and Jason, joined by my awesome co-hosts, Jason Wright and Sean Mybers. If you decide you like us and want to watch us spiral down the drain while we abandon all of our passions, subscribe to us on YouTube and podcast services, or find us on Twitter where we are at Never Free to Play. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback, please send it to us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. Jason, I know you got to poop, so go ahead, tell us how you're doing, and then you can go do that.
And you guys are going to banter while I'm gone?
No, just keep, go.
All right. I'm doing great. I bought a bike, which was surprisingly difficult to procure. Mm-hmm. Apparently there is a national, perhaps international bike shortage. I don't know. Mm-hmm. They're impossible. I went to the bike shop just like, I know nothing about bikes. I just stroll in there. I'm like, I would like one bike, please. And they're like, what kind of bike do you want? And I'm like, I want a road bike. And I'm looking at this store full of bikes, and the guy's like, I don't have anything that you can ride. I'm like, what do you mean? This is a bike store full of bikes. And he just kind of looks me up and down. He's like, you look like you're a size 56, and I don't have any 56s here, and we're not getting any for a whole year. And I was like, holy crap.
That's the meanest way anyone's ever called you fat.
I know, right? Well, except for that has nothing to do with that. That's like millimeters from like the ground to the top of the seat or something.
I see.
So anyway, that's it. That's it. That's all I got.
Is it a good bike?
I think so.
Do you like it?
Oh yeah, I love it, dude. So I got it 2 weeks ago. I've already gone about 60 miles.
Oh wow.
And
yeah.
I love it. I hop on it. I have a nice little path that goes like out of my neighborhood to a greenway through a paved bike trail that's like got big trees, like mature trees on each side of the bike trail, very shaded. And then like there's farmland in this path as well. Oh, wow. And there are horses on the farmland. So you're just like peaceful nature. You can't hear anything. I got my audiobook going. I found a beautiful, like a 7.5 mile loop from here, to the greenway, to the bike trail, back to the greenway, and back to my house. It's amazing.
Jason's going to be the most fit out of us after this.
No, not even kind of. Not because he's not working hard at it, but no one's going to beat you, mister. That's for sure.
That's true. Sean, how you been? It's been a while.
I'm pretty good. So I got hibachi tonight. And my wife and I started a tradition, I don't know how long ago, that after we have a fight, we get hibachi. And we didn't have a fight this week, but she wanted hibachi, so she kept trying to pick a fight with me, so that we would have to make up and go get hibachi.
Adorable.
So we got hibachi tonight.
Look,
I thought you were going to cook for her because she got her grades in or something.
No, I decided to go get her hibachi.
Oh, that's nice.
Jason and I are ingenuity, or we're ingenious gentlemen. We could create a situation where you guys get into a fight. I promise you, we could probably cook up something.
Can orchestrate it.
She seemed really basically. She was like, "Babe, we've had such a bad fight. We should get hibachi." And I was like, "What fight are you talking about?" She's like, "The really bad fight." And I was like, "You just want hibachi, don't you?" And she was like, "Maybe, but that fight." And I was like, "All right, let's get hibachi."
You son of a bitch! I'm in.
Oh yeah. Well, I love you so much.
Watch that meat sizzle.
Karch, what's going on in your life since you've never had anything going on?
Absolutely nothing.
Wow.
No, I had a birthday last week, and we streamed Resident Evil 8 per my request, and that was fun.
It was fun.
I vaguely recall that in my drunken memories.
It got a little sloppy, but it was great.
It was very sloppy. I haven't watched it yet. It's so long, and it's like, oh my gosh.
It's 3 hours. I haven't watched it yet either.
I don't watch 3-hour streams from other people. I'm gonna watch mine. I was showered in love, affection, and some gifts as well. The PS5 was my gift to myself, and I got that about 2 months ago now. And I've been enjoying some games on it, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So, Jason, let's do some housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Like, sub, follow if you're watching us on YouTube. Sub right now. Press that subscribe button. We finally crossed 50. We have 51 subs.
Boom.
Heck
Go
yeah.
us. Big time.
Thank you. All 51 of you lovely NFers. Thank you. We're streaming now. We don't have a set schedule, but we do it sometimes on Thursdays. And sometimes we podcast instead. More to come on that.
I'm going to try to get in the habit of streaming regularly on Tuesdays.
Ooh, okay,
Tuesdays,
cool.
okay.
So
I
hopefully
won't
that
do
can...
Tuesdays.
Or
Yeah,
another day.
or
If
I
we
might
got a
just
better day, it
crash
works,
your
I guess.
stream. I
Yeah.
could crash your stream.
You can make fun of me as I try to Titanfall.
I like that. So also we have a messenger series is done. So how many parts did it end up being, Sean?
Ended up being
7,
10 parts.
8? 10.
Nice round number.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, I like that.
Great game.
that's up.
Shout out to Suicide Studios for putting together a fantastic game. I can't wait to play I believe they're working on a prequel to the Messenger? Or at least it says
I
right.
have no idea if that's what it's supposed to be. They're working
I-
on a game called Sea of Stars, which is like a Chrono
Yeah.
Trigger successor.
Which I think is, at least timeline-wise, is supposed to be a prequel to the Messenger is what I've heard.
That's funny. I didn't know that. Are you going to play the DLC? I meant to ask you. I hadn't asked you yet, though.
I think I am. It's coming down more to, am I going to record me playing the DLC, or if I'm just
Right.
going to play it for fun? And I
haven't
think
played
I'm
it.
just going to play it for fun, unless I play it and it ends up being a lot of fun. I did have a couple ideas if I did, because as you watch those 10 videos, there are certain phrases that come up again and again, and it would be kind of fun to be like, let's have an arm workout, or mistakes were made. And have a little counter throughout the course of the DLC and see how often some of my common phrases come back up.
that would be
That
fun.
would be cool.
So
Yeah, we've
maybe I'll do
got
that.
the messenger videos out there. We've got a Fortnite match that I played with my brother Jude, and we actually won Victory Royale. That's pretty entertaining. Go check that out. And then we have the Resident Evil stream if you want to watch us drunkenly slop our way through the first couple hours of Resident Evil Village.
I was
really
drunk
do
at all.
need to watch that.
Oh, you weren't. You
before
had
we
one
record the
beer.
next bit, because I do not remember what happened. I remember his hand got chopped off and magically reattached.
Wait,
Dude,
are we gonna? Oh,
There's not a
breaking
lot.
character-
There's not a lot to follow, unfortunately.
Are we
It's a-
drink breaking?
What?
Are we drink breaking? Is this? Are we out?
No,
We're not
We
gonna-
weren't out yet.
I'm
No, I mean,
confused.
we're out
Well,
now
Patrick.
because you've derailed us completely. Go
I
get
thought
your drink, quote unquote. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what we've been playing. It's been a while since we've recorded, and so we've been playing a lot. Even Jason. So, Jason, tell us what you've been playing.
I have beaten 3 games since the last time we talked.
You what?
I have, yeah.
So have I.
Me.
That's crazy. But go ahead.
That is wild. So the first one I'll talk about is, well, you beat something, Sean. We'll
I
get
beat
to
something,
it.
not
But,
3 games, though.
yeah. So, well, one of them was Donut County, and that was a very short game that I played with my son. And it's this fun little physics-based puzzle game with a relatively humorous storyline about a raccoon who runs a donut shop. And anytime anyone orders a donut from the shop, he delivers a hole to their location via an app. And he thinks it's a fun game to use the holes to like swallow everything. But I guess what he doesn't realize until it's too late is that it's doing this in real life too. So they all get sucked under the city. And it's interesting, and it was fun to play with a 4-year-old. So you start out as a little tiny hole, and you might have to pick up like rocks, and little blades of grass. And as you pick up, things, every time you pick something up, your hole gets bigger. And so then maybe you get the lawn chair and a table or something like that. And eventually you can suck everything in that little area down into this hole. So it's kind of interesting, and they throw some puzzle elements in there too, where like your hole gets filled up with water, so you can't suck anything down. So then you have to go take your little hole over to this bird who drinks the water out of the hole, so that you can then proceed with the rest of the level. So it's interesting. I guess the biggest puzzle element of it is like, what order do I eat this stuff in? That was fun. I think it took us maybe, 3 hours to play through it.
Is it
How much was
like
it?
a very...
Oh.
I was going to ask, is it
Sorry,
like
I
a
got 2
variation
questions
of
at once
those,
there.
old fishing games where like you start off as a tiny fish and you can only eat fish tinier than you? Like, is it essentially in that vein?
I've never played one of those games, believe it or not.
E-Bombs World, man.
Oh man, I missed out. And to answer your question, Karch, it was free on Game Pass.
Free on Game Pass, cool. Because I remember when this dropped on Switch. It was on phones, I think even like Apple phones specifically for a while now, and then eventually it came to Switch. And I was like, oh, one day I'll play Donut County. And then I saw
and it's one of those things where it's kind of cool because I think it was just one person who made it.
It was,
not mistaken, or
right.
a very small team. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I beat that one. I rolled credits on Super Mario 3D World. It is just as delightful as it was the first time.
Nice.
When I played it back on the Wii U, I think it was like 2013, 2014 when that game came out, and I played it over Thanksgiving with my my brothers-in-law, and that was a lot of fun. And then on to the heavy stuff. I finished the Titanfall 2 campaign.
Yeah.
And let me tell you for the record, Titanfall 2, the best first-person shooter campaign I've ever played, including Halo.
Nice.
That's,
I agree.
I haven't played either of them for more than like 2 hours between the two of them, but that's high praise, knowing how much people love Halo. And you've played Doom as well. People love
I have,
Doom.
yeah. Doom was fun, but I think what got annoying to me was trying to figure out where to go. Maybe that's just the Jason thing.
No,
but I would definitely get stuck in some levels. And the maps were awful.
Yeah, they were.
Titanfall 2's... Sorry, go ahead, Shut.
I was going to say, yeah, that campaign, the nice thing is like every level kind of has its thing. And obviously some of them are more in depth than others, like the time travel level and the factory building level before it. But like every level kind of has its little mechanic and motif. And the nice thing is they kind of build you up. So as they do get more complex, it's taught you all the core system. So there's a very difficulty curved very well was something I remember thinking about it.
Right, and the level design, like you just mentioned, is just impeccable, and I think that's what raises it above other first-person shooter campaigns for me, because like the story was compelling enough. The mechanics are amazing. I love the wall running. I love the sliding. I even got into, like, at first I wasn't a big fan of the Titan combat, but I ended up really enjoying that. But like,
did you have a loadout that you preferred by the end?
I didn't. I had a couple that I preferred. I'm trying to remember which one. So, like, if you're fighting a really strong single enemy like that, what's the name of the guy who flies that you have to fight with him
Viper.
on an airship?
Yeah, you fight Viper on the airship.
So for like Viper, that targeting, that heat-seeking like targeting loadout was the best.
Yeah,
for
where
me.
you gotta hit him 3 times and then you can shoot him with the rocket barrage.
Yes, that one was really good. And then the other one. It's not called this, but it's something like Explorer or something. I think it's the first one you start out with.
The Vanguard.
Where you hold down you hold down a button and you can like everything in your line of sight gets locked on with little missiles.
Yep. Yeah, that's the Vanguard or the Expedition, I think. Your Vanguard class.
Yes,
that's the Expedition loadout.
So like that was my favorite
loadout
loadout for
that's not in multiplayer.
Oh, really?
Oh, well that
I don't know how
not in multiplayer.
I don't know how well that would do in multiplayer anyway, because for me, like I used it for like going through areas with a lot of human enemies where I just wanted to like hold down the Q button on my keyboard, the Q, and it will lock onto them all and just get them all in one swoop. Or if there's like some lower level Titan things that I'm going up against. What about you, Sean? What was your preferred loadout for both the campaign and then also for the multiplayer? Because I haven't played the multiplayer aspect of it.
Tone, you're right, is nice and is definitely the best option against Viper. And then it's definitely better to use Tone against Kane there, which is the first kind of named boss that you fight from the Apex Predators, because it's that or Expedition, and Expedition just doesn't pack enough of a punch, and you kind of got to stay in his line of sight, and he's playing Scorch, so he just destroys you. In multiplayer, I tend to play Ion. Which is the one that shoots has the same shield as Expedition, where you can catch everyone's attacks and throw it back at them, and then it has a shoulder mounted laser, and then the big eyeball laser beam, so that's my preferred, because it's great for kind of peeking and popping out and shooting people, but it has some capability to be decent as you get up close, and so it's kind of to me it's a very well-rounded Titan, and so I do better with it.
Good deal. But yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say
of BT and Cooper and their relationship.
I ended up loving that. It was almost like almost like a buddy cop thing. Especially the way, because you do get to choose your responses to BT, and I would always choose like the sarcastic ones. And anyway, it just kind of like fostered the relationship I would have wanted to have with BT. And it was really cool. And especially like when he throws you and stuff, and then the way well, spoilers here, but I mean, it's the story isn't the best part of the game. But when he like sacrifices himself for you, and then,
hey, I'm kidding.
What? I said spoilers.
Kidding. I zoned out.
Okay, well, Karch zoned out. But anyway, all I was going to say is, and then you don't know whether or not you're going to get him back. And that's like, I actually got sad at that part. I was like, oh man, my main man, BT, he might be gone forever.
And we may never know.
Still don't sound that
we may
sad.
never get a Titanfall 3.
You're never
I wasn't
getting a
that
Titanfall
sad. That's why.
Yeah.
But I was a little sad.
No KOTOR 3,
So,
no Half-Life 3, no Titanfall
Portal
3.
3. I have actually
need
been playing Titanfall 2 again quite a bit. The community decided that we were going to call May 1st Back to the Frontier Pilot Day. And so there was all these memes going around basically calling everyone back to come play Titanfall 2 that weekend. And the cool thing was actually Respawn jumped in on it and made the game free to play on Steam for that entire weekend. So it was awesome because the servers had been down to like 4,000 or 5,000 people, and they jumped up to like 20,000 for that weekend. And they're still I've been playing since, and they're still up around 10,000 because there's also been sales. Like it went on sale on Xbox Marketplace for like $3. It went on sale, I think, on Steam as well for like $3. So it's experiencing a little bit of a resurgence right now, and I'm having fun taking advantage of that and playing a little bit.
Is any of that tied to anything they're doing in Apex Legends, or is that just like something the community decided to try to do?
It was just the community kind of pushed it, and Respawn kind of blessed it and joined in on it. So the goal of the community was we wanted to remind Respawn that we were still here and that they should be paying attention to us. Love me, Daddy.
Hey, maybe they're testing the waters a little bit to see if there's any appetite for.
Hopefully, they just brought back the newest legend in Apex Legend is actually the daughter of Viper.
That's what I was thinking of. I knew there was something going on in
Yes.
Apex, and I could not remember what it was.
So they brought Viper's daughter back. It's been kind of funny to see the Titanfall 2 community because there's a lot of like, well, killed the dad, time to finish the bloodline going on. And then the flip side of that, everyone's like, oh my god, Viper was such a good father. I can't believe I killed him. So it's been fun times in the Titanfall community.
Wow, way to really tug on my heartstrings there. I didn't realize any of that.
I still don't believe
Man.
Viper's a jerk, and he's a pain in the butt to fight, especially on master difficulty.
He really is. Okay, well, I've talked so much.
I don't know. Maybe I'll play Apex Legend with you and Jude,
and
we can kill Viper's daughter.
Ooh, do it, man. That'd be fun. Like I've said before. Sorry, not to backtrack too much, but I prefer the combat of being out of BT. So I can't really remember what Apex was like. But if that's how it is, then it could be fun.
Yeah. All right, Karch.
Well, let's see. I've been playing a lot of things because I play the most games because I'm the real gamer. But
he's the real fake gamer.
I'm the real fake gamer. Amateur, professional amateur. I don't remember if we recorded since I beat Final Fantasy 1, but I have beat Final Fantasy 1 as a part of my Final Fantasy Thon bet with Sean.
Boo. Yes.
And I've also beat Final Fantasy 2.
Double boo hiss.
Great game, Final Fantasy 2. Final Fantasy 1 is dull, snooze-filled, but it's fine. It's serviceable. It's as by the numbers as a JRPG gets. There's a lot of different versions out there. You can play the OG NES. You can play the PS1 version, which is kind of like in between the one I played and that one. And then the one I played was the PSP, which is like the most modern. It's the same as the mobile version. It's the easiest. Has the most quality of life stuff. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's Final Fantasy 1. I probably will never, ever play it again. Final Fantasy 2. A lot of weird stuff in that. You can go check out one of our Stardew streams where I talk about it a lot. I won't tell you which one because I don't remember. But
You have to watch them all.
Exactly. It's got a weird leveling system in where you use abilities by attacking, using magic, etc., to make them stronger. Using things either increases the chance of a stat going up, or a particular weapon skill or magic skill going up. And so it's really fun. It allows for complete and utter customization of your characters. In some ways, if you just continue that grind, they all become, just all around powerhouses. But you can just play however you want. It's got a lot of Final Fantasy firsts, a story that makes sense. The big bad, not just being like a powerful enemy, but like reaching into some sort of cosmic power. In this case, the Emperor, you kill him at some point, maybe like 3/4 of the way through. He dies, like literally, you've killed him. And then he goes to hell because he was a bad man. But then he overthrows the devil himself and then comes back into reality through some sort of like weird wormhole, like loophole, basically as the new devil to try and kill you and take over the world anyway, and then you double kill him. So
that's exactly what's going to happen to Donald Trump, by the way. Okay, I'm done.
And so I started Final Fantasy III. Final Fantasy III never came out in the United States for a very, very long time. It was the last of the original Final Fantasies. Really, it was the last Final Fantasy that wasn't released here to be released here. So it came out on the Famicom. It was the last Famicom Final Fantasy. And it was like, I think it was one of those situations where like they had everything in the bag, but because it was so late in the life cycle and they were just about to release this first Super Nintendo one, which would be Final Fantasy IV, it just never ended up happening. Many, 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 many years later, like early 2000s, DS heyday, they released a remake, like a complete remake, because it was for the DS, like 3D sprites and just total reimagining of the game in a sense, for the DS. And I got it back then, and I was playing it a little bit, and I didn't like it very much. It was kind of hard, and I just never went back to it. So here we are with this Final Fantasy Thon, and that same version was ported to PSP and mobile titles and Steam, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm playing the PSP version, and man, this game just sucks. This game sucks. And if anyone who's actually played it tells me it's better than Final Fantasy II and has actually played Final Fantasy II, they are straight up stone cold idiots. Because there is no way that this game is better than Final Fantasy II. It is bottom tier trash. Specific, and I can't speak to the Famicom version. I'm not comparing the original Final Fantasy II to the original Final Fantasy III. For all I know, Final Fantasy III was the angel on high coming down to save us from Final Fantasy II. But comparing the best version of 2 to what this should be that, but it's just not. It's such a lazy port. Like the original main characters, the main cast, they're called like the Onion Kids. They have you name them just like you usually do, and whatever. And then the DS one, they gave them faces and names and characters, but not really. They might as well still just be nameless nobodies.
A question for you: does the game suck because it's a bad port, or does the game suck because the source material suck?
It's hard to say. I would lean towards mostly sucking because it is a bad port. It's slow. So because it's an early DS game or like a mid life cycle DS game, and those were kind of hit and miss. The smaller scope they were, so if it was basically Advance Wars or Fire Emblem, those ran great, of course, and they didn't have to look super good because it was all very small in scope. This tries to up the ante by having full character models and animations and stuff, and again, that just didn't always work on the DS. But like just a couple years later, they would come out with Bravely Default. Well, maybe a little bit more than a couple years. I remember playing that after I'd gotten married. That was really late in the DS life cycle. That might have even been 3DS. My memory's starting to fail me. Anyway, comparing it to something like Bravely Default, it's just like, what is this game? It's just so slow. Now, this one has a quality of life feature. It has an auto battle, which, auto battles for you. But in addition to that, that's where the speed up is. It doesn't work. The speed up doesn't work in anywhere else but the butt battle, so it doesn't happen in overworld or cutscenes. But I've been barred from using it, and I've been a good little boy. I'm being honorable, but holy crap, it's just not fun.
Hold on. Why would you want to employ the auto battle?
Why would
to get out of the scrub fights? Like
yeah, absolutely. Because there are those. The random encounters eventually just become. You can grind
And
faster.
you can't turn them off per the bet, right?
That's not even an option in this one.
But if it were, you can't turn them off.
Correct.
This is where,
That's amazing.
Like, I'm gonna lose this bet because I'm too nice because you're like suffering. I'm like, oh, I could let him off the hook.
See, and this is where, as a non-interested third party that just likes to make people mad, I'm not going to allow that change to the bet. Period.
No, this is your best chance of me not playing, because the first two let you save anywhere. And granted, I didn't need to. I didn't have a single like wipe in a situation that would have like lost me hours of worth of time. But you cannot save in the middle of dungeons in this one, and this is before save points were a thing. Saving is exclusive to the world map. So the second you enter that dungeon, it's a gauntlet.
It's
good
win or
luck,
die.
you son of a...
How does it work with suspend resume on the Vita though?
I mean, you can suspend, but I'm talking about a party wipe. If you get wiped out, game over, and then you're back to your last save, and that's going to be outside that dungeon. And this game is notorious for its final dungeon being like hours long, and there's you just get to go through, and it's like a boss gauntlet. Oh my gosh, I don't know what it entails. I am not looking forward to it. It's the first one with a job system, so cool. Job systems are awesome, but it's the most boring implementation of it. Usually in a job system type game, a JRPG with job systems, whether that's tactics or turn-based or whatever, you get to carry over, you learn parts of a job and then you take it with you to another job and you get to mix and match and play around. That doesn't exist here. You just pick a job and then you pick the 4 jobs you want as far as across your characters. You combo those up and you level the jobs up individually as well, which is annoying because you, all right, cool. I just unlocked this job, but now I got to start over sort of as a character. I'm still level 20, but my job level's 1, and I'm going to suck for the next couple hours until I get back up to where I was with that other job. So it really and that on top of that, when you switch jobs, they give you a penalty. And it goes away after like 4 battles, but like it disincentivizes you from experimenting. And I have no idea why they would do that. This game sucks. This game sucks so bad.
It sounds like a lot of ideas that were not fully developed yet that would get improved upon later on.
And they will, because 5 is amazing. 5 is one of my favorites, and I can't wait to get to 5 to see how much better the jobs, because it does the same thing. It's a job system, but you get to, like I said, it's like, okay, I played, Black Mage, but I'm going to take this, basically make it a subclass, and you get to use those abilities and also be a knight. I'm going to be a frontliner and cast spells.
The good old-fashioned, I went and learned Thief to get Monkey Grip, and then I became Ranger to get 2-weapon, and now I'm a Paladin bashing people with 2 greatswords.
Exactly. Monkey Grip sucks, though. Just FYI.
You can always pause
really
this
well
game.
Tactics.
Is there anything in the bet that prohibits quitting the game halfway through and going back to it?
No. And then, I'm going to play, I can play them in any order, presumably, but I want to go in order except for... I've decided I'll probably play 9 last because it is my favorite, and the way that it just it's that love letter to the series, and so it'd be a fun way to end it. But that's all I have to say about that trash game.
I got one more question for you.
Go ahead.
Just something I am going to ask you this throughout the bet, so you don't have to answer it now, but keep it in mind. I would like to know if there is a difference in feel when Final Fantasy transitions from being like a primarily Nintendo franchise to being a primarily Sony franchise, and same question for when Square merges with Enix in 2003.
We won't reach that second one. Final Fantasy X came out and was developed completely under the Squaresoft umbrella.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
But yeah, I can't really recall on as far as your first question. I want to say it's less that it became a Sony product and more it leapt from the 16 2-bit area to the 3D. That's really what it's going to be, less so than the Nintendo thing, because Nintendo didn't have any say in it. But we'll get there. 7 is the game you're talking about. 7 is the first non-Nintendo game. So it's a good question. We'll see if I feel like it has anything to do with it, but I have a feeling
we already know how Jason feels about 7.
That's true.
I love 7.
He does. He just won't play it.
Good. You're gonna love watching my wife and I play 7.
I
can't wait.
I see it. I see the greatness. I just have no nostalgia for it, and it's hard to force myself to do it.
It's gonna be hilarious watching, because my wife. Well, I guess I'll talk about when I get to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's good. Yeah, I hate that game. Can't wait to be done with it, because then you start the fun ones. The fun Final Fantasies start with 4, and I can start really having a good time. So far, I've been eating my vegetables, and I wanted to get these 3 out of the way. Because if I had played a good one and then gone back to this one, I would have quit. I would have just thrown in the towel. There's no way. Anyway, Minute. I have 1 minute to talk about Minute. No, I'm going to talk about Minute for 20 minutes.
No, timing.
I'm going to give you 1 minute.
So it was on sale for like $4, and it was awesome. I got it on Switch. I have heard about this game. I think I first heard about it from one Jared Petty ages ago in a Kind of Funny Games cast.
It was a mobile game at the time.
No, it wasn't.
What?
I don't think it was.
Okay.
Anyway, it's a great little, really simple indie game made by like 5 people, but mostly coded by like one dude, and everybody else provided like, design and art and music, that kind of thing. I tweeted at them all, and they all liked it, and it was a fun little moment. Anyway, you're this little Tamagotchi looking guy. Do you remember Tamagotchi?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, the little round head, kind of almost like this beak-looking thing, 2 little legs, that's what he looks like, and it's all black and white. All the characters are very stark white. Everything else is, the backgrounds are different, uses of black and white. Really, like, no gray. It's just black and white, actual black and white. It's very Zelda-esque, both in design, style, and feel. Very Zelda 1-esque, that is. And basically, 2 seconds in, you find this broken sword, and it's cursed. And you die every 60 seconds, and you go back to your last home base. You start off with one of those, and so you got to figure out how to lift this curse. And pretty much everything that you find and or do, except for killing enemies and a couple things like moving a block out of the way, if it's not like a major puzzle, will reset, but everything else, you keep it. So in a sense, it's kind of like a roguelite, but it's basically you're just solving one puzzle after another, and everything kind of chains together, and it's very funny, and it's very cute, and very smart. The writing, what little there is, does a very, it's very good. It's a very well-designed game. It's an amazing little package, and I beat it in 90 minutes. And that's about all I have to say about it. Like, play this game. It's on my Switch, so you guys have access to it.
I'm doing it.
It's dirt cheap. So if you want to buy it, so you don't have to mess with that, do that too, because, then they get all the money, and they deserve it, because it's a really, really fun game.
So, just a very kind of distilled experience, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's straight into the point. 60 seconds to do, and at first you're like, how is this even possible? And it is just one of those moments that it's a game of discovery, like it really, like you said, it distills that feeling you get after playing like 3 hours of Breath of the Wild and finding like 2 shrines. You get that over and over again in 60-second increments. Yeah, I'm not going to say any more than that. I don't want to spoil even like the slightest little thing. It's really fun. It's really silly. And while I might not remember much of it in like 10 years or so, I'll always remember how much fun I had while playing it.
Nice.
On to my next game. So I beat Minute. I beat Final Fantasy II. And the third game that I beat since we last recorded was Returnal. That's right. I got it and I beat it in about 2 weeks. I think it took me a little over 20 hours. I think he said it was like 1 day and 3 hours. So like, or 4 hours, like 28 hours. Lots of deaths. If you've seen anything about Returnal, it is a, full 3D roguelite. So the whole point is you're going to die a lot and you're going to start over from the beginning. Unlike Hades, there's very little permanent progress. You are a space person. You crash land on a ship called Astropos, and you're trying to figure out how to get out of this cycle and get off of this ship and get back to whatever it is you're doing. It's a very cryptic game. The story is nonsensical. You can kind of see where they're going with it, but at the same time, they literally never explain anything. By the end, even with the secret ending, nothing is concrete, and that's intentional, but I think they just went one step too far on that. Like, I don't know how to relate to this character because I don't actually know who this character is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it sounds like you never got really much background or any way to latch on to that, to relate to the character.
Right. At one point you think you do, and then they throw another curveball and you're like, wait, what? Like, because you literally are dealing with time travel. Like, your character is dying, but being brought back to life in this weird way. And the cycle is continuing.
Is that how you're able to repeat the cycles? That's their justification, is time travel?
No, it's not. I don't think it is time travel. I think you're literally dying and being resurrected. I don't know why though, but I'm not even sure if that's correct. Like I said, the story is weird. What's good
But
about?
does it matter?
Right,
like
exactly.
in terms of how you view the game, that's my question. Does it matter?
Yes, only in the sense that I'm disappointed because it could. I can see where this could have been a really good, simple but really good story to like loop into. You know,
much like Hades.
Much like Hades. Hades was perfect, and this is not. That's really all there is to it. But what's good about this game? Superb gameplay. Playing this game is fun. I bashed my head against the wall over and over again for 28 hours because I wanted.
Sounds really fun.
It was so fun, and so much of that fun comes from the haptic feedback from the controller. Haptics are so good. Astro is probably still like the pinnacle of like just kind of showing you how they work. But this game, right off the bat, you know, the first first brand new exclusive for the console that wasn't a remake and a pack-in. A lot of qualifiers on that, but the first one of these kinds of games, and just feeling the rain. There's so much gameplay that comes through the controller. You know, like you're always using a controller to put input into the game. But to use the controller, it's so many. Like the speaker's not new, and again, Rumble's not new. But like you have this ability, so there's no ammo, but your weapons run on like they can overheat. And so what'll happen is when they overheat, this little bar will start going across the screen, and if you hit the bar at the right time, you'll instantly reload, and they call it like overloading or something like that. And like again, there's these audio cues with that help facilitate that feature. You have like a super on all your weapons. And when the cooldown's up, the audio comes in, and it all just works really, really well. There's specific, unique sounds that come out of the speaker in the controller when certain things happen that doesn't necessarily come out of your TV or your speakers. And again, just very, very good.
Do you know? So like I play with a headset pretty often nowadays, and the headset's plugged into like my Xbox controller. Mm-hmm. Do you know if you do something similar with Sony, do those controller sounds come up through the headset?
Presumably, I don't know. I usually would have played some of this on with headphones in, but I didn't because it was kid friendly enough. You know, it was kind of creepy, but it wasn't especially like, oh, Juliet can't hear any of this, right? And so, and she's getting older too, so that's the number one reason I might use a headset. I was out in the living room, so I didn't have to worry about people sleeping. Another reason I might use a headset, so I didn't use it. It's got 3D audio though. Okay. You know, and so apparently that's works really well for the people who have experienced it with the headphones and stuff. So yeah, can't say for sure, but presumably the answer is yes. The roguelite elements, they're not very good. A lot of stuff doesn't carry over except your skill, and then so like when you
say skill, you mean like your
skill as a human being playing the game.
Yes.
Yeah. And so there is one resource that carries over. It's called Ether. It's too rare to be of any good, and it costs too much to use it on anything. And so it's just a really poor implementation in that idea. Like you can use it to buy these things called artifacts, and the artifacts are your really good items. They're non-consumable. They just stay with you. They provide some kind of passive bonus, but those artifacts kind of suck. But there's like 3,000 of them, and so like when you find one, unless it's like one of like 4. Like, they're just not swingy enough. For something you're not carrying with you from run to run, they should define the build, you know? Like, but they don't. And so,
like Hades.
Well, like any, it's not just like Hades.
That's
Hades
common,
is the one that
any roguelike.
Right, like Binding of Isaac, I haven't played a lot of it, but it has a similar idea. Like, you find something, and you might not find the best thing or the thing that you like the most or the thing that's going to really help you out necessarily, but it determines how you're going to play. Yeah. None of the artifacts do that. They're just passive, kind of mundane stat bonuses, essentially. Except for some of them where it's just like revive your character on death. I'm like, well, why would I ever not take that? I will devote all my resources into getting that one.
Sure, yeah.
If it's optional, or if it's an option. Another thing roguelikes make you do is choose risk reward, and there are like hundreds of those on any given run, where basically you'll have items all over, and some of those you just pick up automatically, and some of them you don't. You have to choose to pick it up, like press a button. But sometimes it's called malignant or cursed, essentially. And so you have a chance of getting a malfunction in your suit. So you get the item or the health power up or the healing item, and then you have a chance and it even says like, oh, this is a moderate chance, or it's a very high chance of malfunction. And the malfunction will be something like when enemies die, they drop like an acid pool, or your dash is the cooldown of your dash is increased significantly. Except you're not going to know what it is until you pick it up. So that's where the real risk comes in. Not that you're going to get a malfunction, because you're most likely going to, but what is the malfunction, and how is it going to affect the way you're playing? And then they all have a way to cure it. So it's like, kill this many enemies and the malfunction goes away. Use an item and the malfunction goes away. But some of them are just brutal, like the one about the dash. Your dash has like a half-second cooldown. So to increase it by 2.5 seconds is lethal.
Jeez.
It's stupid. Especially when it's like, kill 50 enemies. I'm like, that's not happening. I might as well just restart, and I would. And then some of them are like, pick up items and you'll get damage. Everything's an item. Like, there's no such thing as a non-item. They're all items when you pick them up, except I think like health restoration pieces. Those are the only non-items. And so again, it's like, but then the other ones are like, you won't do as much damage while you're floating in the air. I'm like, I'm almost never in the air. That's not a malfunction at all. So it's like, they're too, though, and the malfunctions are too swingy. The artifact's not swingy enough. The malfunctions are too swingy. So like, as far as the roguelite part, it's not that good. Again, the gameplay, phenomenal. The haptics, phenomenal. Some of the fights, especially the boss fights, are super cool. The bullet hell stuff is amazing. It looks cool.
Can you speak to that a little bit? Because all I know about this game is kind of on its face what you said so far. So it's a roguelike. Mm-hmm. It's bullet hell. Mm-hmm. But how does that manifest in the gameplay? Like, what's the loop?
The loop is, so you've got a goal, like get to this thing, and on your map there's a marker off in the distance. You can't actually see where that is. It's just off on a blank space in the map, and so you're basically just moving from room to room. In Hades, those rooms you have to clear them before you move through them. In this, you do not. You can technically just run through most of them. There are rooms that do lock down, whether that's just with a bunch of enemies in waves or a mini boss, for instance, but technically, if I'm good enough and I know I can beat that boss without a lot of power-ups, I don't have to kill a bunch of stuff to then search every little nook and cranny for power-ups and that kind of thing, and the currency that goes away on death that you can collect. And so it's basically just rooms of enemies. There's a lot of platforming.
And what's the combat? Are you shooting? Are you meleeing?
There is shooting. You do get a melee option pretty early on. Shooting is 90% of what you do. There are loads of different weapons. Pistols, shotguns, assault rifles, weird phaser weapons, grenade launcher type things. By the end, maybe 10 different kinds of weapons you could find. It's random. I mean, you always start with your pistol, but everything else is kind of random at that point. There is a system, they call it proficiency. Basically, it determines how good the weapon you're going to find is. And every weapon has mods on it. And you find more different kinds of mods, more mods on weapons, and then stronger versions of the mods as you progress into the game. And so, for instance, homing missiles on your pistol. You pick up the pistol, you get that mod on it, it starts at 0%. As you use the pistol with that mod, it goes up to 100%, and then it unlocks. And then now it'll be available on on pistols in the future. Weapons can.
So that's a form of permanent progression in a way, right?
It's like
or is it just for that run?
It's a semi-permanent, yeah. So like that in the future. So I unlocked homing missiles. The next time I pick up a pistol, it'll already have that unlocked, for instance. But then it'll have a second mod that I have to work towards. And a weapon might have like 5 different mods, and it can only have 3 on it at a time. So you might get a weapon with a different combo of them, and sometimes it's like,
and that's just a random roll.
And some of them
you don't get to pick the mods. It's just whatever it. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. And so again, it's totally random. And again, the weapons will define the way you play the most out of anything, because like a shotgun plays a certain way, but then sometimes a shotgun has it has a mod on it that basically makes it a long range weapon again, which is kind of nice because now it's good at both. You have this really cool type of what they call it's like a pylon driver, and basically you shoot out rods, and as you shoot them out, whether you hit a wall or an enemy, they then connect and they create this like energy web, and anything caught in it deals like really quick damage over time effect kind of thing. Basically, it burns for all intents and purposes.
What you're saying is you must construct additional pylons.
You must, and I made that exact joke to myself, and no one laughed because no one understood. But there are some weapons that are just OP, just unfair. Like there was a mini boss I could not beat because it was stupidly strong. I had like double my starting health, and he would take out 75% of that in a single punch. And he's shooting laser beams and so I'm like, what were you trying to accomplish? Because no single like, because so you're in these biomes, Jason. To go back to your other question, and each biome has a final boss on it before you move on to the next one. No biome boss does that much damage in a hit. So why does this mini boss do that? And so the only way I beat him is because I happened to pick up a weapon that just literally melted his health. He went from 100 to 0 in like 5 seconds. And I don't even know how. Wow. Like, I don't even know what I did. But I beat him, and thankfully it was in a situation where I'd never have to fight him again.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of irritating, we'll call it that. And on top of everything, the thing that everybody hates, aside from it was crashing, and it only crashed me a single time. In 28 hours of playing, it only crashed me a single time. So that was nice. But runs can be long. If you are being methodical and destroying everything and trying to play slow and safe and find all the power-ups to get as far as you can, you will play this game anywhere between like an hour to 3, depending on how well you're doing and how far into the game you're getting. And you cannot save. You can pause it with the suspend feature the PlayStation 5 has, but you cannot save a run like you can in Hades. And literally just every game since the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance had this feature. In Final Fantasy IV, I can suspend it. It goes straight to the title screen. It doesn't let me keep playing. And then I can just resume that save, and then once I do, that save is gone, and I'd have to suspend it again, die, or find an actual save point. So I don't know why they insist, like, they've released like 17 updates. There's no way they didn't know that people would want this, but whatever. And they were really cheeky about it on Twitter, too. It's like, oh, you can just, just die again. I'm like, get out of here. Get out of here.
That's annoying.
It was annoying. I was like, whatever. Again, It really didn't bother me because I was able to play in these chunks and the resume feature worked for me. It never crashed while it was suspended, and I didn't have the auto update on, so it wouldn't shut the game off while it was in sleep mode or whatever. There's one more thing.
Shame on you, Housemark.
Shame on you, Housemark. But that's their PR. As far as like Housemark, developer putting this game out, congratulations, Housemark. Well done. On moving from a very small scope space to something so grand. Like, if you've ever played or even just seen another Housemarque game, and to then go to what they're doing now, it's way bigger than most people ever leap, and with way more success, too. Nice. So I am very excited to see what they do in the future, whether it's DLC for this game or just their next title. My ear will be to the ground when it comes to them. I will be following them on Twitter to find out what's going on. But
okay,
I
so
recommend
the
this
question.
Game. Yeah.
The question.
Yeah.
You recommend this game?
I do recommend this game.
Is this game worth $70?
Knew it. I knew it was coming.
It was for me.
Okay.
It might not be for some. Do not get swallowed up by the hype. Do not go into this game thinking, well, everyone likes it and I've got a PS5 and I got to play something. Don't do that. Watch as much as you can that you're willing to watch. You can't spoil too much. It's not that kind of game. Just be careful when you're buying it, because it might not be worth $70 to you. But this is not one of those like, oh, this game should have blah blah blah. No, this is worth $7.
This is a AAA game.
It's a AAA game, absolutely, through and through. And there's more to do.
Next gen AAA game.
I didn't do the secret ending stuff, which would just required me to continue playing the game again, basically, because that's all there really is to do. But there's these, like, what do you call them? They're called, like, daily challenges, where they give you that ether resource I talked about once you complete them. And it gives you more the better you do. And then there's challenge runs. I never dipped my toe into, though, but as I progressed further or completed a particular biome, it would be like, you unlocked this version of the challenge run. So there's a lot to do even after you roll credits, which still takes a while itself. And, you just might fall in love with it. And you just might want to spend more time with it. So it's a lengthy game. It's a well-made game. It's a very fun to play game. I was just also very irritated much of the time, beyond the normal irritation that comes with these kinds of games. They are supposed to be frustrating. That is their charm. And while that was there was more frustrating elements that had nothing to do with that as well.
Fair.
Okay. Right. Good recap. That was excellent. That was way better. Now I feel like I'm a dum-dum for what I said, but
you're always a dum-dum though.
That's true.
All right. I'm going to talk about my last game. Might as well wrap it up here. Something that we've both been playing a little bit of before we throw it to Sean here. But that is Mass Effect Legendary Edition, the remake that came to now the old gen consoles and PC. There's no PS5 version yet, but I am playing it on my PS5. But yeah, I'm playing the first Mass Effect. Jason went to halvesies with me on it, so he's playing a little bit too on his PS4. Dusted it off, and I'm really enjoying myself. Literally, exactly.
Dude, I am too.
Right? Tell me about your experience with it so far.
Okay, so the thing that got me right off is classic BioWare world building, storytelling. I loved the fact that you really got to craft your character and how quickly they incorporated that into the narrative via cutscene. So you have a variety of options that you can choose. It's a little confusing because you can just pick male or female, but that just puts you right into the game. You have to go like custom male or custom female to like fine tune.
Because I did, and I didn't realize that that's what would happen.
Yeah, so I did it the first time, and I was like, wait a minute, that felt weird because I didn't get to pick anything.
Right.
So I restarted the game, and I was like, custom female.
Oh, you went female. Okay, I I went male.
Gotta get that sweet Jennifer Hale voice acting.
It's
exactly.
Good.
It is good. That's what I wanted. So yeah, I went female. You could pick, like I said, a variety of backgrounds. I picked the military background where both my parents were in the military, and then I picked the sole survivor element of that, which is like a subset where you went on a mission in the space fleet. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
it starts with an A. Alliance.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were in the Alliance Army, and I went on a mission, and I was the only survivor of this attack on a certain planet. And anyway, and so I'm kind of playing as like a skeptical, like I am a company woman, but I'm also not a dum-dum, but I'm skeptical, but I'm not so skeptical that I'm going to reveal myself as someone who may defect if it's advantageous to me.
I don't want you covering my bag. That's for sure.
So
you probably don't. But
your character is waiting for their moment. Is what you're telling me.
Exactly. And the thing is,
don't join the military. Do me a favor.
Well, and the thing is, you never know because of the way that I play the character. Because I'm like, I'll ask a question, but then if I feel like I've gone too far, then I'll kind of backtrack and just agree. I love the dialogue scenes and the way that you get
renegade points into me like, no, we're best friends. I would totally die for you.
Exactly. The other thing that I love about it is like I'm really enjoying the dialogue sequences and how they allow you to choose like your response. And then the other cool thing is they actually, it might be a 1 or 2 word sentiment on the decision choice, but like the dialogue's not exactly what you pick.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, so like that part I like. It's just these little fine touches. What about you, Karch? What did you do as your like background and kind of how are you playing this?
Before I do, what was your class as far as like your combat stuff? What did you pick?
Oh, good question. I am the infiltrator, so it's a mix of combat and tech.
Yep. Got it. Cool. All right, I picked Spacer like you did. I think Spacer is what they call it, but you're a military brat. Correct. You grew up in it, and then you dove into it yourself. I picked the Ruthless option, which is basically like some giant slave base or something like that, and like you lost a lot of men because you pushed forward. Very Stannis Baratheon of Game of Thrones, if you're familiar with it. But yeah, you made a decision. It was successful. The mission, you saved a lot of lives, but you lost a lot of your own men, and that's how I'm gonna play. I've got a mission to do. I'm not mean, and I will choose a lot of renegade, but I'm not like devoted to it. And I'm gruff, but again, I'm not mean. I just want to be effective, and I'm not a racist. There's a lot of options to basically say aliens are stupid. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That's not me. It's a merit based kind of ship I'm running.
It is interesting how you do like despite my best efforts to role play, I can't help but weave some of myself into my character.
Yeah,
but yeah.
That's me.
But like when you talked about I'll do anything to win, and you named the Game of Thrones guy for a moment, I thought you said Zap Brannigan.
Zap Brannigan. He would do anything to win.
Killed. That's true.
That's very Zap Brannigan.
That's funny. We just started Futurama, but we will talk about that later.
Oh yeah, that could derail us hard. So we won't.
Isn't that where he's from?
Yeah.
Zap Brannigan.
Okay.
From
Zap
Futurama.
Brannigan.
Nope. So stop. Anyway, the class I picked, Vanguard. So you're it's basically the soldier / biotic who casts kind of the spells of the game. You know, you can
I
cast
was I so wanted to do it, but I don't know why. I just didn't.
Yeah, so basically you can cast things like shield yourself or like warp your enemies with gravity using minor Mass Effect fields.
Yep.
I'm not very far. I got through the main, the tutorial on Eden Prime, which is basically where the game opens up. I go to the Citadel, which is kind of like the base of operations you'll go to in between missions when you're not on your ship. You can go to the Citadel between missions anyway. And then I went to, and then in very BioWare situation, we've all played KOTOR, so we know how this works. Well, Jason might not, because I don't think he's gotten past Terrace yet. But you can pick your missions. They're going to give you like 3 to 5, and you're like, okay, I'm going to pick that one first, and it doesn't matter.
That classic BioWare, you've got a little bit past the opening, and now you have options.
Yeah. And so I've done the first one of those because it lets you pick up a new party member, or your final party member, because you pick up all your other party members on the Citadel. This game,
Shepard,
Rex, Shepard,
Rex.
Oh, he's so good. Oh, they're so good. For the longest time, I didn't ever said I hated Mass Effect. I wasn't that bullish about it, but I didn't understand the hype. I have played through the first one. It's been a very long time. It's been almost 10 years probably. But I played through the first one on PC, and I started a bit of the second one, got maybe through the first act. I was enjoying myself, and then I just never finished it. And while I didn't dislike it, I don't remember feeling like, oh, this is the best game ever. I missed it when it originally came out, for sure, back on the 360. But I don't know, I felt like people were overhyping it. It began my kind of like, I don't know, I think BioWare's just not quite as good as they used to be. I always held KOTOR up higher. Not to say that this game has, dethroned KOTOR in my mind, or KOTOR 2, but I'm having a way better time than I thought I would, than I remember having with the first one, the first time I played through it, and I'm just really enjoying it. The combat's a little wonky, but I know that gets better in the next couple games, so I'll tough it out, and it's not awful here.
That's funny, because I enjoy the combat.
I'm not saying I don't enjoy it.
And they refined it, too, for the Legendary Edition.
They did, but it's still kind of wonky. It's just a little, it's cover-based, but at the same time, enemies are just kind of like walking up to you behind your cover sometimes. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? That's not how this goes.
You gotta use the melee attack, man. Melee attack.
And I do, but then it's hard to aim. So I'm also probably just bad. So, how do you like in the combat, Jason?
I'm loving it. I love cover shooters. And it feels at home. Like, I did want to play this on PC, but I'm actually knowing the combat, because I was coming into this knowing I'm very blind to Mass Effect, other than kind of knowing the lore around it. But I was expecting turn-based for some reason, and
that's
I think
hilarious.
it's just because. Well, I was thinking KOTOR, because this was so close after that, and I thought it was like
sort of. You got Jade Empire between this and KOTOR.
It's closer than it's not that far apart. It's pretty close.
Well, anyway, my point is that's what I was expecting, was like this turn-based thing, but with guns in space, and that's not what I'm getting at all, which is awesome.
I think that's what I wanted it to be so badly back when I first played it, which may have colored my opinion going forward, that even though I got through it and played it and still kind of enjoyed it. Also, my PC at that time was passable, but it wasn't a very good experience, and playing it remastered on the PS5, and I imagine that your experience with it on the PS4 is the same. Like, loading's faster, everything looks nice and crisp, 60 frames per second. It's the way.
It's smooth.
Yeah, it's amazing it took them this long to remake it, but they did. And it's great. I can't wait to play more. I was playing right before we started. If I wasn't going to be exhausted at the end of this, I'd play more after we were done.
You wouldn't, because we're going to level my D&D character.
Well, even after that. Last thing
and also I will
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I like the fact that they retooled the leveling so that instead of the original 1 to 60, now it's like 1 to 30.
Yep.
So it seems like you maybe level up a little quicker.
You do. It's at first I thought they were just condensing it, and it actually might level up slower, but you're not. You're leveling up at a pretty brisk pace, and so that's kind of nice too. You'll get stronger earlier, it looks like. But presumably the enemies scale anyway, because you can pick any direction you want to go to. I figure they've probably got it all handled, mathematically. Last thing I'll say is Paragon and Renegade is the light side, dark side in this game. But unlike the mustache twirling nonsense and the, let me give you the shirt off my back, pacifism that is light side, dark side in KOTOR and in a lot of other games as well. You're never the bad guy in this. You're always the hero, no matter whether you pick Paragon or Renegade. You can pick both, and you can have both of those meters going up, and then I don't think either of them can go down. And there are perks, if you go hard into one or the other. But like, it feels way more natural in this way. Again, it's just sometimes it's just a little bit gruff versus a little bit compassionate. Like Paragon and Renegade are far too extreme of words to describe it, because it's not usually quite. Some of them are. There's this infamous scene where you just punch this person when you pick the Renegade option in the dialogue. Basically, it's this quick cutscene.
The great part is if you do that across all 3 games.
That's right. You can choose to do it in all 3 ones. I don't.
'Cause she gets you in the end.
I don't think that I've come across any major choices yet. I think I might have accidentally made a choice at the end of this mission I just did. I really don't know, because the council was mad at me for something I did. I was like, what did I have a choice? I don't think I did.
Like the Queen thing?
No, I didn't do that one yet.
No spoilers, because I haven't played through this game.
No, but there's lots of choices to make, and they carry over, and that's the part I'm most excited about. Even with some of the, negativity surrounding the last bit of 3. But we also have the DLC at our fingertips, which is fun. We'll get to play that, integrated. I don't know about integrated, but we'll get to play it immediately with the game or immediately after the game for the stuff that came. And so that'll be fun to do, where you don't normally get that, and you might not do it because you're like, well, I already played the game and I don't want to go back to it. Well, now it's part of it. It's all part of the experience.
I never played any of the DLCs. So I'm actually kind of excited, and I'm debating getting this, or I may wait a little bit, or
just
or not,
mooch.
we'll see, for
he wants to play on his Xbox.
I want to play it on my Series S.
Yeah, and I don't blame him.
I want to set a loadout for my Elite controller and wreck this.
Fair
game.
enough. Yeah.
No, I definitely, not that this isn't worth the $70. It's 3 games. Of course, that's not even 70. It's only 60 right now.
Yeah.
So it's 3 games, 3 great games, tried and true. So you could get it now, but it's also easy enough to wait for. Especially you've played them. I would wait for a sale.
Yeah. If you're gonna blow through them, Sean, you can just do the EA Pro subscription for $15 a month and just play through them like that.
I could probably
one
wait
at a
a few
time.
months and watch it come up on Game Pass via EA Play.
That's true too. Probably won't take that
they
long.
they are on EA Play. The not legendary are on EA Play.
And I had thought about doing that, but I was like, if I'm gonna go back and play them, because I'm like you, Karch. It's been a long time since I played this game, so like I remember the key points, but I'm sure I would play through them and be like, oh yeah, a lot of time, or just totally like I totally forgot this, or apparently I am a different person now and chose a different option.
That's an option, yeah.
And so if I'm gonna play these, I want to play them remastered, 60 FPS, and all that.
I recommend that for sure. So whether you get it now or later, but don't go back. Don't go back. All right, that was everything I played of note. Sean, it's funny. I think we're gonna go the entire podcast without talking about Resident Evil 8, which I'm fine with. We can just keep that.
There's a stream. People can watch it if they want.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Sean.
What's very drunk? They know everything they need to know.
What you been playing? What did you beat?
So as we talked about earlier, I beat the Messenger. Which admittedly I'd beaten it before, because if you've been following the series, I had some filming hiccups that forced me to create a new save.
Dude, you did a fantastic job hiding that. Not hiding it, because you never were trying to hide it, but like I forgot watching your videos. I totally forgot you knew what you were doing every step of the way, and not because you were bad. Not because it was just like I believed everything you said felt like a fresh experience still. So kudos to that.
And that's also kudos to that game. That game was awesome. It is I said it earlier. Props to Suicide Studios for putting together a phenomenal game to play with. The wit and the humor to that game is amazing. The music is great. It was always fun to play, with the exception of that freaking River Turquoise level that I hate. Apparently moving platforms are just the bane of my existence. But really enjoyed that game. Karch and I were talking a little bit offline. There is a free DLC. I haven't decided whether or not I'll go and film me playing the DLC, or if I'm just going to play it in my own time and have my own fun with it. But that was awesome. Reiterates my love of the indies. I played a little bit Monster Hunter World, but that was like shortly after last time we filmed the podcast, and it's not that there was any reason I stopped playing. I just kind of drifted away from it. Other things kind of came up, and I just haven't been back to Monster Hunter World, and it's unlikely I will. Had a great time, but just I think there's not a ton of story in those games. Like there is a story, but if that game, if it had a stronger story, it would have stuck. It would have helped me stick around. But and there were other games that there was one game in particular that I needed to focus in on that had a superior story.
Yeah, real quick. I've bounced from Monster Hunter Rise. I had a great time with it. I technically beat not all the content, but I got to the end of what was available before their first update, which happened at like the end of April. And I finished it like just after that. But it's same sentiments. It's like it's a huge grind to keep going, and I just don't have 100 hours in me for Monster Hunter. As much as I love that, it'll be there when I come back to it, and I can't wait till the next one comes out on consoles because you and I are going to be there day one. And we're going to play together.
Yes. And that'll probably help our longevity with the game.
Absolutely, yeah. Play a couple hours a week every now and then. It's going to be great.
If you do it on PC, I'll do it too.
No, because they will probably... Go ahead, Sean, sorry.
Another game that I just actually, strange enough, bounced from. So I spent a lot of time updating my Xbox One Skyrim Special Edition load order to my Xbox Series S load order.
You still have that relapse counter, Karch?
And I played it I played it probably 2 or 3 days. I created 2 characters. I created an evil vampire who was like living amongst the population and feeding on them in secret and all that. And then when I would get caught, I would flee from that hold and go run to another hold and then stumble across the quest. And then I kind of had my like out in the wilderness survival character with all my survival mods. The load order was great. I had actually a lot that really improved the combat, but I just didn't feel like it. So I shelved Skyrim, and that's kind of it for Skyrim now.
See, he self-corrected
for this week.
Well, yeah.
Give me a break. I got nothing else to say about Titanfall 2 except lots of blast, attempting to learn a new weapon. And then big thing for me was I beat Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah.
Which was
fantastic.
Great. The combat in that game was awesome. I never get like the fights. It's one of the few games where every fight I was like, yeah, let's do this. Like let's duke it out there, buddy. I looked forward to going to combat, and it got like later on it got exciting because you spend a large chunk of the second half of the game with Barrett, Tifa, and Cloud, and there are certain strengths in each of their fighting styles that definitely one or two of them were like, okay, you guys are basically carrying me through this fight because the other one's just not going to work with. And some of that was the way I had material loaded out. Karch and I think, are still looking at doing a spoiler cast, so I won't go too much. I will say there are parts in kind of the last third quarter of the game where I thought like it felt to me like the game was building towards a climax, and then it kind of slowed down. And that was a little frustrating. Sadly, those are some of those segments, and also like the segments where I was knocking out the side quests in the game were the parts where my wife watched them, and she called the game tedious.
They are,
which though certainly doing the side quests are, and some of the parts she watched me play were tedious. I'm a little concerned because she's supposed to voice over with me Final Fantasy VII, so. Hopefully she finds the original Final Fantasy VII a little less tedious.
Hopefully,
we'll see.
You got to coach her up on the voice acting, so she has different voices for the different.
There's only 2 women.
Yeah, I mean she really just has to do Tifa and Aerith. I've already told her that I want to do Yuffie because my Yuffie's gonna be freaking hopefully hilarious.
Okay. That's hilarious.
And then beyond that, you got the one Turk lady, Scarlet, and
all right, yeah, you're right.
Aerith's
and
mom,
Jesse and Aerith's mom, but
our
a lot of them all have
daughter.
short bits. So
yeah, no, you're right about the pacing. Probably that game's number one issue is pacing.
Yeah.
Aside from a couple combat annoyances like the weirdness of Hell House and certain enemy types, but aside from that,
there's a couple fights that are a little frustrating. But like I said, combat was great. Obviously, voice acting and just how pretty that game is awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple pacing issues that we'll talk about in our spoiler cast.
Yep. Sean, is this? Would you recommend this game to somebody?
Absolutely. And that was while my wife did call it tedious, it was nice to see that. She kept up with the story, and she hadn't, even with her not watching the full game, and had an investment in the story. So even if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VII Remake, evidently, according to my wife, holds up on its own.
Very nice. And then finally, was this worth the $0 it cost you to play?
It probably would have been slightly worth me buying it. So for whatever reason, like you get a thing where it's like, hey, we can't verify this game. We're gonna log you off in 15. You're gonna get logged on in 15 minutes, and it never did log me off except for like once. But it would come up like every 30 or 40 minutes.
That is weird,
and
man.
it got annoying, and maybe it's part of the reason why I'm having internet connections problems tonight, and it's a symptom of that. But
Maybe. Yeah, that's true.
I would almost have been tempted to have bought the game to avoid that annoyance. And also trying to watch the final cutscene as you're like transitioning your PS4.
That's
console
right.
to
That was bad
PS5
timing.
And getting booted out of the game where I'm trying to like duke it out with. Good lord! If I have to go back to the last time I saved, I just lost like 2 hours.
Bleep that out. That's a major spoiler. Make a note.
That's fair.
No, I'm super excited that you liked it. I cannot wait to do the spoiler cast. We're gonna have to wait. We'll see. We can do this as soon as like basically 2 weeks from now, or we might wait until Intergrade comes out and I've played that little extra story bit. Because that'd be fun to have that conversation about that.
Oh yeah,
I'll
I would wait. I would wait for
that
that
because it's very unlikely I'm going to get to that because I'm not going to have a PS5 anytime soon.
No, you are not.
Microsoft
All right.
for life.
So that's what we played. Tell us about what you played in the comments. Tell us what we should play. Give us something Japanese for Jason. Give us something shooter
Give me
for
an indie.
Karch. What?
I want an indie.
And give an indie to Sean because apparently he gets what he
Why
wants.
is Sean the only one who gets what he wants?
Because he's
And
the
I
best
think
of
the
us.
best.
He's the best of us.
Speaking of the best of us, I'm so mad that you got a really cool special birthday stream, and I'm very excited for the time that I'm gonna have with Sean. But I'm a little disappointed that I don't get the whole NFTP family in for the birthday stream.
Well, we can do a makeup anytime.
Yeah,
you
let's
want.
do make. That's what I'm saying. I want to make up.
We'll get a makeup.
Wait,
we'll do it on a
I
weekend.
gotta treat him like a birthday boy and then twice now? Ugh.
No, you can rag on him all you want on the makeup. I'll treat him like a birthday. boy on the
there we
makeup.
go.
Oh,
Okay,
I like
okay,
that.
okay.
I like that.
Yep.
Dude, plus Sean and I plan on getting sloppy, so we're not even going to stream it. We're going to record it.
That's
so we can
true.
edit it later.
Wait, I plan on getting sloppy? Did I commit to that?
Jason
Oh, well,
is
it's my birthday.
committing for you.
Yeah. Sloppy. Okay, is drink break?
Drink break.
Drink break.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the topic of the show. This week, we will be discussing our gaming blind spots. There are a lot of games out there. We're old men, and we've lived through generations of consoles.
Almost all of them.
Exactly. Every last one of them. Almost. Anyway, there's a lot of games we haven't played. Some great ones. And so we're going to discuss what some of those are. And Sean, you went last, so let's go ahead and start with you, sir.
All right. The first one I had is one of the best selling games of all time, and it's GTA 5. I'll be honest, I have no interest in playing GTA 5 single player or playing online by myself. All I want to do with this is, now that I have 2 Xboxes, is to see if I can land them together and go into an instance with my wife and essentially go Bonnie and Clyde on Los Santos.
That sounds fun.
That's all I want to do. I just want to we're gonna rob grocery stores and destroy armored cars and see how long we can go.
Is that actually a thing you can do?
I don't know. I know. You can load into like instance of the worlds that are private, and so I'm hopeful that I could just land the 2 Xboxes together and do this. But
I don't know if you can land them, but you guys can join a private game together.
I could, but then I'd have to get a live account for my wife's Xbox account, which wouldn't be the end of the world. But obviously, I mean, GTA 5 is huge. I think getting in, like, especially getting into GTA Online at this point, with like, I was reading something a while back where they keep releasing new stuff, but it's the best car originally in the game costs like I don't know, $100,000, and now it's like the cars are costing millions of dollars because people you got these people in the games that have built up such a fortune that you just have
Economy.
They come into it now and actually like try to do it fairly and not drop a bunch of money would be ridiculous. But I do think it would be a fun weekend or afternoon to play that game with my wife and go on a husband and wife crime spree.
Cool.
As one does.
GTA 5 was on my list too, so I'll talk about it a little bit right now. I don't have much extra to say about it other than that GTA 5 and really the entire series for the most part. I played a handful of hours at a time of GTA 3, the first one, where you're like the classic, Vinny kind of stupid Italian American mob guy, not the other 2 games that came out based on it. But yeah, like I played a little bit of that on and off at my godparents' house when we would be over there. But other than that, I've never owned or played a GTA game. And then, of course, certainly not 5, the most recent, most popular, potentially game of all time as far as like sales are concerned.
And probably like microtransaction revenue that it's made.
Yeah. But it is just this little piece of gaming history that I'll probably just never touch. I just don't. I don't know. I don't have a huge desire to play them. I've heard 4 is a very good story, and I watched Robert play a decent chunk of it, and I enjoyed what I saw of the Nico character, and then his ridiculous cousin who would call him all the time to go bowling or whatever.
I would like to take a moment to just, to reflect back on all the enjoyable moments I spent watching Robert play games.
Oh, me too, man. Robert's a great guy to watch play video games.
I think.
Why don't we get Robert to play games and we all watch him?
He's busy.
I think I watched him beat Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and 4, and enjoyed every moment of it. He was such a trooper too. Like I would literally just come to the house and be like, "All right, start back up. Let's do this."
Yep.
So I've played GTA 5, and what I will tell you is that I did not enjoy the online aspect of it at all. And I've played it several times. Like I've played GTA 5 when it got remade originally for the PS4, and I tried to play it online there. And then flash forward, that was 2014-ish. Flash forward to 2 years ago, so I guess 2019, I rebought it on PC and I played online with Tyler. And both times were terrible experiences where it was nearly impossible to try to get into a game together. And then when we finally did, we could like run around the thing, but then someone would just come by and kill you for no reason. Mm-hmm. And then if you wanted to try to do something like a heist, well, we weren't using the in-game chat, so we had 5 people, 3 randos, and there was no communication, and so we just lost in like within 2 minutes of the heist starting, and it took so long to load into the heist.
Yeah, those load times are really bad.
What I will say is I loved when I played the story. The only reason I stopped playing it is because I got to this one mission where the shooting mechanics were so bad that I just could not, for the life of me, beat it, even dampening down the difficulty, if I recall. So I just stopped playing. I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. This is stupid. I've put 12 hours in, and I'm done. But I really enjoyed that story. I loved the way that it switched between the 3 characters. And if you do play this game, the Bonnie and Clyde thing sounds really fun if you could make it a private game. But don't sleep on the story because it's very good. It's very cinematic. I loved that aspect of it.
So because I've watched Achievement Hunter play a lot of GTA 5. It's one of their weekly things they do a Let's Play in. Mm-hmm. And so it does blow me away that the shooting is so bad in GTA 5 because Red Dead Redemption has pretty good shooting mechanics, at least the first one. I haven't played the second one, but I would presume the second one, if nothing else, only gets better.
I'm going to be honest with you. I disliked both. I disliked the shooting mechanics in Red Dead just as much as I disliked it in GTA. And something about the way they do their character models and their movement, it's so awkward compared to any other shooting game. And I just cannot aim their guns. Even when they added in first person mode, I just can't do it. I just can't.
Oh, well, I mean, it's definitely stupid. All about lock on in those games.
Moving on, Jason.
Hold on. I just want to say one more thing.
I didn't want to talk about GTA 5 for 20 minutes.
Well, we're going to talk about it for 20 minutes because I have to say that the mission I quit on was a sniper mission. And so you were actually scoped in and I still couldn't frickin' aim. And then now I'm done.
Okay. Red Dead Redemption. I've never played it. The original or the second one, obviously. But man, do I remember people talking about this game. And then, of course, for years to come. But I didn't have a console that would play it. Going back to GTA 5 or GTA in general, I had fun with that game, but like Jason was just ranting about, it's not really well made. Like it's not fun. Like I don't like Rockstar games. I don't like when I watch them being played. I'm like, this doesn't look like they know what they're doing. How do they get so many people to play?
It's a story.
It's super well, but that's not why people come back to GTA 5 online.
You're right.
The cars always sucked when you handled them, so I imagine the horses would suck too. There's just a weirdness to it. They're a very unique developer. But I love Westerns. Deadwood, one of my favoriteest movies of all time. Love Justified. That's not really a Western, but it just looks really good. And again, the critical acclaim of having this like super long, but totally engaging story the whole way through. I'm sure I could just critical path it and have a great time. One of those tortured gray kind of characters that doesn't suck in John Marston. And it sounds like a really somber type of setting overall, very Last of Us in that matter of there's no heroes, there's no happy endings. Yeah, and that kind of forlorn, moving on, seeing the world evolve and change in a way that can't be undone anymore. But yeah, it's just you can't play it. Much like the Mass Effect series up until just a few days ago. There's just no good way to play this. Well, that's not true entirely. If you have an Xbox, you can do back compat, and I hear that it works really well. But you can't do it on a Sony, and you can't do it on PC. It's insane that you cannot play this game on PC. I'm not even a big PC. Yeah, it's not available.
You used to be able to stream it on PS Now, if I recall.
You still can, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm saying, the PC thing is just insane to me. I'm not even a big PC advocate, but it should be on PC. Why is it not on PC? Put it on PC.
Well, GTA 5 only, a couple of years ago finally got on PC?
And that's insane. What are they doing?
I actually have Red Dead Redemption 2.
Mm-hmm.
My little brother got for me a couple of years ago for Christmas, and I want to start it, but it's also that game, Red Dead Redemption, the original was sort of the original, that Red Dead Revolver, but was a long enough game, and it's oh my god, Redemption apparently is 90 hours just a critical path. It's I don't know if I have that in me anymore, guys.
And that's basically a cowboy simulator.
Apparently you want to talk about realism and immersion.
Yeah,
I like, so
I'm gonna have to.
I want to play it.
I'm gonna have to absolutely fall in love head over heels, 100% A+ perfect Red Dead Redemption to even want to touch Red Dead Redemption 2 because I don't want to play a cowboy simulator.
It's intimidating.
Yeah, it's not even. It's yes, it is.
I want to do it, but it's also I don't want to. I'm not ready to jump in.
It just doesn't look like my kind of fun. That's all. All right, after I've butchered Sean's good throw, I'm gonna lazily fumble off to Jason. So Jason, what's your first one?
Okay, I did not put mine in any particular order, so this isn't in order of priority or anything like that. First, I want to give a shout out to some honorable mentions that did not make my list of top 5, but are honorable mentions to Dragon Age, Mass Effect, which I'm playing right now. But I didn't even know it was I forgot the Legendary Edition was coming out when I made this list. Final Fantasy, never played any of them, basically. Persona, not ever going to touch it, but I hear it's good. Resident Evil, I've never played all the way through any of them.
We're changing that.
We are. Knock on wood, we are. I've gotten a couple hours into 4 and 2, but never gotten much further than that. A bunch of Elder Scrolls games that I never played, Oblivion and Morrowind, and then Pokemon Snap.
Such a weird final one.
with Morrowind, and maybe something with Oblivion, but not really.
Say that again?
You're not missing much with Morrowind and Oblivion. I mean, maybe with Oblivion, but
their story
Morrowind gets a lot of credit, but it doesn't play well.
None of the story in the Elder Scrolls games is good.
No,
the lore is good,
no.
but the story
they are storied, as in they are.
Oh, I see.
They're legendary.
Yes, you're right. You're right about that.
So my first game is going to be Fallout New Vegas. It came out in October of 2010. I was a mere college student, and I had no console of my own. This is a legendary game from a storied franchise, and I love the lore surrounding it. I don't know much about this game other than it's a Fallout game made by Obsidian. But in terms of the gameplay and stuff like that, I don't know anything about it. I would be going in totally blind. I know that Bethesda bought this intellectual property from Interplay in 2004. Yep. So I guess Interplay made the first two Fallout's the top down,
the isometric style
games. Yeah. And so then, Fallout 3 was a commercial and critical success that came out in 2008. But Bethesda's developers were tied up on what would be Skyrim. And so they reached out to Obsidian, which had been founded by several members of Interplay's original Fallout developers, Black Isle Studios. And they reached out to Obsidian to help them do this kind of this almost like a Fallout 3.5.
Yep.
In Fallout New Vegas, so they kind of had a head start on the engine and things like that. And then finally, like the thing that cracks me up about this game is as successful as it was, as much as people love this game, it is rumored that Bethesda did not pay Obsidian their bonuses because it only got an 84 on Metacritic instead of an 85.
Boo.
And I don't know if that's true or not, but there seems to be this bad blood between Bethesda and Obsidian, who are both now owned by Microsoft. So there's a lot to unpack with this game on top of it just supposedly being amazing. And if it is on Game Pass, I could see myself going back and playing this one.
It is on console.
It is on console Game Pass for sure.
Not PC.
It is very good.
It's super cheap too.
I honestly prefer the storyline, especially with the expansions of 3. But the characters and probably the characters and then the improvements in the system, because it's basically the same engine as Fallout 3, but they tacked on some improvements, especially when it comes to the followers. Each follower got a much more detailed background, where the followers in 3 really have no background or almost no background. That makes you much more invested in them. Also, how is it that the Fallout games, I mean, even 3 and 4, the Bethesda ones, have better stories than the Elder Scrolls games when it's like all the same people?
I mean,
good
presumably
question.
it's all the same people. I don't know for sure. I guess it's just the style that they want to go for. It sounds like you haven't played any.
Todd Howard.
It sounds like you haven't played any of the Fallouts. Is that right, Jason?
I've played, honestly, probably like the first 15 hours of Fallout 4.
Oh, okay.
I haven't played Fallout 4.
Yeah.
But I couldn't, there was something in me at that time that I just couldn't get fully committed to beating it for some reason. And I don't know why. I can't really remember.
I mean, you should love it. You loved Outer Worlds.
I know. And that's the thing. And here's the other thing. We lived in Canada at the time when Fallout 4 came out. I couldn't get to anyone I knew or loved if I wanted to. Lauren had flown, is that the past tense?
Yes, it is.
She had ridden an airplane. She had got on an I don't know how to say
She
it.
traveled through space and time in the typical manner.
She traversed on an aircraft down to the Caribbean, not Caribbean, Cuba.
God.
Where's that?
I'm going to throw
Jamaica?
my pen at you again.
Don't cut this out. Don't you dare cut this out. She went on a cruise with her family, and so she was down in Jamaica, and I'm in Canada. I can't even call her or anything. I'm up in Canada by myself. I can't get to anybody. I can't do anything. I bought this game the day it launched, and in Canada at that time, I think games cost like $75 Canadian. So I overpaid for this game on launch to play it, and I binged it. It came out on a Friday, and I just sunk my teeth in, and I don't
15
know.
hours.
I don't know what. Yeah, exactly. And then 15 hours, and then I was just like, eh. I don't. What is my problem?
Also, rule of thumb: never buy a Bethesda game that early on.
I know.
Always wait for the patches, and preferably the unofficial patch that'll come out a few months later.
I mean, I don't
But
know.
it didn't. None of the performance aspects were the reason I stopped playing. It didn't. None of that bothered me.
People found this game underwhelming. You wouldn't be the first person to say that about
It's the
Final
reason I
Fantasy.
didn't even play it. I remember
Yeah.
it coming out and kind of just being like, eh.
Well, and do you remember that it got announced and released within 3 months of each other, and
A
people
little
were
longer,
stoked?
But yeah, it was cool. But
And I think that's the hype that made me want to buy it day one.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think that collective meh about it is the reason that I quit playing it.
yeah.
But
Also,
at any rate,
go ahead.
I'd love to play Fallout New Vegas.
I was just gonna say, as far as what's wrong with you, everything.
I know.
Play New Vegas. Of all of them, you would enjoy. Of 3 New Vegas and 4, you would enjoy New Vegas the most.
Well, if it ever comes to PC Game Pass, I will.
Cool. Sean, what's your next one?
Sean realized while you guys were talking that this was supposed to be a list of 5, and I only
No,
did
it doesn't
3.
matter.
It doesn't happen.
So I'll throw out real quick to round up my numbers. I've never beaten a Dragon Age.
That surprises me.
You're not missing much.
Yeah, like I played about half of Origins, and then I always got to this like point in the temple where like you lost your party, and then I always got killed by these mages. Like the 2 times I tried to beat the game, those mages killed me, and I was always like, I'm either missing something or the difficulty curve at this point is broken, and there were always better games to move off to. I've heard good thing about Inquisitions, but
Dragon Age just doesn't grab me the way I want it to.
I want it to be Baldur's Gate. Like I want it to.
Sure.
I want it to be a game that I'll enjoy as much as I enjoy Baldur's Gate, and it's just.
It's a BioWare game, isn't it?
You should play it more like a. You should play it more like a medieval Mass Effect, because that's really what it is.
Yeah, I know, but
yeah.
So, So Dragon Age.
You love BioWare. You love high
Does
fantasy.
He, though?
That
Does he love
surprises me.
BioWare? This is what I keep asking everybody. I'm like, do you actually love BioWare?
I loved BioWare.
You loved
past
BioWare.
tense.
You loved Baldur's Gate 2. That's what you loved.
These games were
KOTOR.
made.
True.
These games were made in that same. They're like contemporaneous with the BioWare Sean loved. So that's, I guess, what.
Dragon Age was on its way, or BioWare was shifting when Dragon Age Origins was in development.
Because Dragon Age is post Mass Effect 1.
Post Mass Effect 1 at least 90% of its development time was pre-EA acquisition.
Yeah.
So
the original Dragon Age Origins came out in 2009.
Right, I remember.
Yeah. So post Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong, the Mass Effect games are great games, but by that point, BioWare was no longer the company that made KOTOR and made Baldur's Gate.
Right. Yeah, it's another one of those games I played on PC, and it was like, this is an unoptimal experience, but I still pushed all the way through it, and I did enjoy myself. I don't think I should have played a different character, both roleplay wise and like class wise. I picked like a elf rogue, which is like so atypical for me. And I slept with everybody. Everybody I could sleep with, I slept with them. Because for some reason, romancing people was the only way to get certain like subclasses, and I thought that was kind of it's cool and stupid at the same time.
Not at all.
What?
That's not
How does that even make sense in universe?
Because like they are like, for instance, I wanted to be an assassin, but the only assassin that you like one of the party members you had, he was an assassin, and so it's like, well, the only way you're gonna unlock it is by boning me. Okay, well,
it's like the Avatar movie where they got that little thing. You got to interface to transfer the knowledge.
Exactly. Presumably, he teaches you after the sex. I don't know.
I hate myself.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Don't play Dragon Age. Dragon Age 4,
great.
though.
Yeah, that's what
People
we should do. We should tell each other if we should play the games as we go through this.
So don't play GTA 5. Don't play Dragon Age.
Do play GTA 5, but play the story.
Don't play GTA 5. Got it.
Exactly. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing
for the story. Don't play Dragon Age. Karch, do play Red Dead Redemption if you can.
Okay.
And Jason, do play Fallout New Vegas.
He gave it an eh.
Yeah.
Give it an eh.
I had fun. I don't think you would.
I am not playing this game until they remaster it.
Yeah.
And that might never happen, and I'm fine with that.
I had fun, but I don't think you would.
Okay, so Karch, don't play Red Dead Redemption.
Right.
We have to go with the people who've actually played the game.
New Vegas.
So Jason, do play New Vegas.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
It's
so
the only one
play
I've played.
Anything. Karch, what's your next game?
My next game is an oldie that I hear talked about all the time, and I've never seen it played. I had to look up images of it because I don't even know what this game looks like, and that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. No, not Turtles in Time.
Oh.
This was the NES game. This was the okay. This was the arcade game that was ported to the NES. It was a side-scrolling beat 'em up, like the Simpsons game, like what's that one that we played? Streets of Rage, all those like Turtles in Time. But this was the first one
before it.
Exactly.
I have both of these.
I had an NES as a kid, and I had the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
I also have that one. Not very good.
It's a side-scroller. It's a classic side-scroller game, but it has this top-down overworld part too. It's very brief, but most of it is just like a classic NES side-scroller. And it's hard, and I never beat it. And it's got it's got nostalgia, but most people don't actually care for this game. But then I hear people talk about this game to this day, how much they love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. I'm like, how can everyone love?
Is this the Chuck E. Cheese arcade game?
It's a
Presu-
port of that game.
It's a port of that game. It's supposedly a very good one because most
Hey,
people...
I loved that game.
Everyone does, and that's what I'm saying. I never played this game. I never knew it existed until years later. I would have found it because I was a big TMNT guy, kid, when I was younger.
Did you ever go to Chuck E. Cheese?
Tons of time, and I don't ever remember this game being there.
Holy cow! And The Simpsons beat him up. Like
I remember maybe I just went
I
straight
remember
to the
this
Simpsons
being
game.
at Aladdin's Castle at Countryside Mall, but not at Chuck E. Cheese's.
Never went to Aladdin's Castle, so maybe and Jason wasn't around. I mean, he was technically. We would have had some overlap as far as him being in the same area as us, and so we would have gone to the same Chuck E. Cheese potentially, but. Maybe not.
The one-off Enterprise there.
Right. That was still there.
I played this one in the one in Chattanooga.
Okay. So maybe
I did not play this at the one down there.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
we didn't have the one. The only side-scroll beat 'em up at ours growing up was the Simpsons,
which was awesome. I love that game too.
Yeah.
But that's a different conversation. So this is just one of those things, and I cannot wait. We are totally gonna play Shredder's Revenge, TMNT Shredder's Revenge, because that looks amazing. It's this game. It's Turtles in Time Reborn with really good everything.
Dude, I can't wait.
Can't wait for that game. But yeah, this is just one of those like. I wish I don't want to go back and play this, so this isn't really a matter of like should I or shouldn't I. I believe it's a good game. I don't want to go back to it. I just wish I had played it in its heyday. I wish I could join everyone with the nostalgia because it's not going to be fun. It'll be good, I'm sure. And it's a nice little piece of history, but we've moved past it, like we've just gone past it at this point, unless I'm about to beat them up.
Shredder's Revenge will fill that void.
Exactly.
If you really want to just give it an afternoon, all you gotta do is walk down to my parents and ask for the NES, and there's a copy in our container of NES games, and you can play.
How am I gonna what am I gonna hook that up to?
Just get the freaking ROM.
That's a good question.
I'm gonna have to emulate it. Is what I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to get a color 3-pronged HDMI adapter.
Yeah, I almost went on a SNES journey a few years back. I was gonna call it Karch's Summer of Gaming, like George's Summer of whatever from
Jeff Keighley. Okay,
no, George Costanza from Seinfeld. But I didn't. When I started making that list, I was like, oh, this is like 100 games long. I'm never going to be able to do this in a million years, even if I just dabble in all of them. So yeah, TMNT 2. That was one of my gaming blind spots. Who's next? Somebody grab it.
But Jason, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Did you order Chuck E. Cheese or...
Oh my gosh, shut up.
Whatever. Did it have the X-Men one? Did the X-Men beat him up?
That was
a good one too.
I have played that. I don't know if it was
Aladdin's Castle.
Aladdin's Castle, okay.
Dude, Aladdin's Castle sounds awesome.
It was awesome, and then it closed.
Yeah,
that sucks.
There was a really good arcade over in Lakeland where my grandfather lived for years. That was the best arcade that I remember in memory. Because it had the X-Men, it had Teenage Mutant Turtles, it had Simpsons, it also had Dungeons and Dragons Tower of Doom, which was awesome.
Long live the arcade.
Yeah, except they're all dead.
Except for the part where it's died.
Except that they all died.
Here's the thing, they're not, because Exhibit A, Dave & Buster's, and Exhibit B...
Dave & Buster's is a piece of garbage compared to actual arcades. Unless they're different somewhere else, because the ones I've been to suck.
I've only been to one in the early 2000s. Like, I was in middle school and I went to one with my dad, and it was amazing because we I had only ever been to like Chuck E. Cheese and mall arcades to that point in my life. But then when I went to this Dave & Buster's, had all the same games except for you could buy a card that let you play for hours instead of credits.
I've been to it. I mean, I haven't been to a Dave & Buster's in like 5 years now, but like the ones that I went through going up to that point, they had changed, and they were all like, they were not side scroller beat 'em ups. They were not like time splitters or whatnot. They were all very like, they were essentially like phone games blown up onto to arcade size. It's not cool.
The worst parts of Chuck E. Cheese writ large.
Oh, that's terrible.
For adults.
See,
it is.
You weren't going to find Galaga or Joust or any of those there.
Oh man, see, with my only Dave & Buster's experience is early 2000s, and basically every great arcade game that you've ever played in a giant room with that like laser tag 2000s bowling neon lighting, right? You almost expect a fog machine, but there isn't one. And then a little swipey card that
You would
lets
have
you play.
loved Disney Quest. When
It lets you play everything unlimited. Plus, they had one of those giant like golf things where you could hit a real golf ball into a screen and it shows you where it goes.
Yeah, those are cool.
Anyway, sorry.
All right,
So,
what's your next
my
game?
second game. It's Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. It came out in 2011. Again, I was in college. I had no console. I played the original Splinter Cell on the original Xbox, and I freaking loved that game. I loved everything about it. I loved the stealth elements. I loved like the way that it played with lighting. And this is obviously way, way, way before RTX. I can only imagine what a new Splinter Cell would look like with RTX, the way that they played with lighting. But I love Hitman, and everyone loves Splinter Cell. Like, I need to play this game. I don't know anything about it other than I think this was the latest entry in the series.
It was not.
And, sorry, it was what?
There's 2 more after it.
Oh, there are? Okay, well,
but this is the pinnacle of the series.
Is it really?
Okay.
I didn't realize I didn't realize the best one came out that late.
Yeah, there's 5 Splinter Cells, and this is the 3rd one.
Have you played it?
Yeah, I beat it.
Sean's a big Splinter Cell guy.
So
Yeah.
do you recommend it?
Oh, absolutely. This is, like I said, so everything that you love about Splinter Cell and Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow is like refined to its best form. With kind of the second one. What is the second one? The one after Chaos Theory is called. It'll come to me, but that one plays pretty much identically to Chaos Theory, but the levels just aren't as good. Chaos Theory is just perfect. It's the height of Michael Ironside's voicing Sam Fisher and just killing it. Actually, I take it back. There are 6 Splinter Cells. There's 3 after this one.
I didn't realize you were so into this series.
I played Chaos Theory extensively. I beat that one. I beat the one after that. I just can't think of the name right now. And then I beat
Black something, Black whatever.
Yeah, well, because it's where he like that when you spend the entire game like you swap off on levels pretending to be like, oh yeah, no, I'm part of this group of evil mercenaries. No, I'm actually my spy self, and I've gone undercover. And then the 3rd one is Conviction. And Conviction changes up the mechanics a little bit. And it's a little more fast paced, so it's not quite. You're getting away from the core Splinter Cell mechanics at that point, and then you have Blacklist, and Blacklist kind of continued Conviction style, and then also had the double sin of Michael Ironsides didn't voice it, and I hated Ubisoft for that for a long time, and then I realized the reason he didn't voice it is because he nearly died of cancer while they were making it, and he couldn't voice it.
Oh, wow.
And has subsequently in the Sam Fisher appearances and a bunch of their other games recently come back and voiced Sam Fisher again.
Yeah, Blacklist was what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I've never played any of them. Not for 1 second.
They're very slow, very methodical games.
It's not that I wouldn't enjoy it. I just didn't have them, so I didn't play them.
I played this in college because like someone had an Xbox and I got it off of them, and this is one of the games they had, and I was like, this is awesome. I love this.
I feel like that's what I would like about it is like what you say, slow and methodical, because that's rare, I feel like, in a game.
Yeah.
Like in a game like this, like in a third-person action adventure game. Well, not adventure, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And like this, in the way that this game plays, methodical is rare. The only other game that I can even think of that really comes to mind is Hitman, that you have to play
Seems
that
like a really
same
fair
kind of
comparison
way.
from everything I've
Yeah.
seen.
So, I mean, maybe Hitman's the closest we get, since Ubisoft doesn't want to do anything with this IP, despite the fact that they've been teasing over and over and over and over and over.
They teased it heavily in like the last 2 years, and I'm really hoping that means we're getting one before Michael Ironsides gets too old.
Careful, dude. That's a monkey paw wish if I've ever heard one. Because can you imagine the only reason they've been sitting on that game because they can't figure out how to make a good Splinter Cell game that fits into their stupid let's make everything also an RPG model.
Oh god.
Because that's
that's fair.
Because if they can't make the game like 400 hours long, but then they also can't monetize it the way like Ubisoft's trash. Like I want to talk about like least favorite developers or publishers someday, because Ubisoft is at the top of my list.
Hold on, I'm going to add that to the talk here.
Yeah, I can't
Least
stand
favorite-
any of their games, and I can't stand. I hate them. Oh, I hate them.
I think the one after Chaos Theory is just called like Double Agent.
That sounds right. Yeah. That sounds
But
right.
Jason, like I want like
This is a Jason game, though, man. Play this game.
I really enjoyed playing that game, and it carried me through basically two more Sam Fishers, even or Splinter Cells, even though they weren't quite as good. Double Agent, if you like the original, you'll love Chaos Theory, and you'll enjoy Double Agent. I still really had a lot of fun with Conviction. I think it was more like I went off to training at some point. And I never got back to it. But the only way I hesitate recommending this though is it's old now, and it's it's an Xbox game. It's not going to look great.
Yeah.
Like I want to recommend this to
2011?
you, but it's
Came out in 2011.
That's crazy.
it's old.
Is it an Xbox game or is it a 360 game?
I'm pretty positive it's an Xbox. I take it back. No, it's an early 360 game. The first two were
That makes
Xbox
sense
games.
then. All right, he might be able to get through it then. He might be able to stomach it if he can get to it. I don't know how he's going to get to it.
No, dude, you might be right. Hold on.
Do you have a 360?
The original release. Maybe I have this wrong. It looks like Chaos Theory original release was actually 2005. So you were right. This is an Xbox PS2 era game. I must have looked up a remaster accidentally.
That seemed way too. I mean, I didn't realize they remastered it. That's cool if they did that. I want to say I have Double Agent and maybe Conviction on the 360. If you want to borrow my 360.
Yeah, just mailing on up.
What I mean, it's just collecting dust here.
There is a trilogy. The trilogy was re-released on PS3 in 2010. So I don't know exactly what Jason looked up, but
I have no idea.
this is from Wikipedia. So
I believe you.
2011, Splinter Cell 3D was released on Nintendo 3DS. So who
That's
knows?
bizarre. That
Who
I don't know
knows,
what
man?
I was looking
There was
at.
a regular DS game too that was not very good. Mostly because playing that game without two joysticks was just not going to work.
That sounds terrible. All right.
Okay,
Who's next?
Sean.
Sean.
Sean's next.
My next is in general an entire category of games, which is I have played Final Fantasy VII. I have played some other non-main number Final Fantasies like Crystal Chronicles and Tactics Advance, and then I have played nothing else in Final Fantasy. Apparently, I don't want to go play Final Fantasy 3, but I really would one day like to pick up this series in the Super Nintendo era and carry it forward at least through 9. And I think where this comes up is, the Super Nintendo, I just never got one. And then, Final Fantasy became a Sony game. And I didn't own a Sony console until I got the PS4. So I just missed basically all of them going forward.
Yeah.
As they came out.
You need to rectify that. You don't have to rush it, but you do need to rectify it.
So, I mean, part of me is wondering if I'm going to start this Final Fantasy VII playthrough, and then I'm just going to start playing other ones, and
Maybe
I'll hit a bug.
Do you think you can beat Karch?
I beat Final Fantasy VII before Karch ever did.
Oh my gosh! Put that on my tombstone, or yours. Somebody's tombstone should read this.
I'm going to put my tombstone next to your tombstone, and that's all mine's going to say. Beat Final Fantasy VII before that guy.
It's like I'm with stupid, but like I beat it before this guy.
I love that.
No, Jason, I can't beat Karch because I've seen Karch play like Final Fantasy VIII at the height of all of his knowledge, and it's just like, what are you doing? I don't even know. Like he knows how to abuse the systems of especially 7, 8, and 9. That it's just impressive.
I am very impressive. No, you should play this series. You should as much as I love 5 and as good as 4 is, it's the least good of the 3 Super Nintendo ones in my opinion. You could get away just playing 6 and then going through the 3 PS1 titles. If you don't want to have to put that much on your plate. You could really just play 6, 7 and then 9 because 8 is a oddball.
I mean, I think I've watched you beat at least 75% of 8 as well.
Yeah. It's a wild ride. I love it. It's got a special place in my heart, but it's an oddball for sure.
Is it Irvine? Is like the cowboy guy?
Irvine's got like the lover boy anime cowboy. It's like it's weird. It's weird. But yeah, play those games, and then 10's good too. Like if you're feeling it by the time you get there, 10, and then anything after that, I just don't recommend. Until hopefully
Are you
16.
playing 10 too in your bet? I can't remember.
No,
you said
I'm
you
not.
hated that. Okay,
I'm not. Yeah. 10 is the last of the it's 1 through 10, but I'll probably play 9 after 10.
We got it. So 6, 7, and 9.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'll by the time I finish the series, I'll be a third of the way done.
Yeah, and because the reason I only say you got to play enough of the series and know enough of the series and have some kind of touchstone so that when you play 9, you feel like you're experiencing 20 years of nostalgia, like, because that's the best part of 9, aside from just being a phenomenal game. But I won't belabor that point too long as I go into my next one, which is, let me scroll up here, Halo Combat Evolved.
Da, 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 da.
The entire series is just this giant black spot to me. I've even after Combat, what was it? The collection came out.
Master Chief Collection, slowly
being drip fed to PC for some reason. I started playing.
It took them a long time to make it work right on consoles.
Right, exactly. I started playing the first one, and I was just bored. I never had Xboxes ever, and so of course I just missed it. I was never a big multiplayer guy, certainly not online, so that was never going to be a thing I had. I wasn't a PC guy, so I was never going to play it there. And I just wasn't a shooter guy. It was this perfect cocktail of something like, Karch is never going to play me. People say there's a story. I've yet to see any evidence of one. I don't know.
I agree.
Story picks up in 2 and 3. One is pretty damn straightforward. Although one's big thing is the flood, which if you didn't get that far, you never would have encountered.
Mm-hmm.
So what's crazy about 1 is you spend the first half of 1 fighting the Covenant, which are pretty generic alien things.
Yeah,
they got better tech than you, and they're bird-legged and whatnot. The elites are and all that. And then you do this one level, and the game pivots into like a horror game for a little bit because you start fighting the flood, and they're totally different, and they're disgusting, and they're infecting other things and turning into these creatures that are all up close and personal, and the tone of the game, and you have to like readjust how you're used to fighting because the things that are most effective against the Covenant are less effective against the flood. Like that's what made 1's single player something special, was that pivot to the flood.
Yeah, I can't stand the campaign in 1. I find it it's very GoldenEye, and the GoldenEye campaign's kind of bad too. The level is I just get lost in. I shouldn't get lost in a shooter level. We were talking about Doom earlier. You should never get lost in a shooter level. It doesn't have to be straightforward. It doesn't have to be hallways and linear to a fault. But I also shouldn't spend 25 minutes in an empty area shooting nothing in a shooter. That's unacceptable. Yeah. It's why I've never gotten past where I've gotten. So. The
series, because you think about it, you're not terribly far past GoldenEye. GoldenEye and maybe Perfect Dark were the pinnacles of FPSs that when Halo came out, and it does I went back and I played through the Halos a couple years ago with Katie, and it's a slow game compared to one. I may have done that after playing Titanfall, and everything is slow after Titanfall. But even compared to a Destiny, it's a slow game. There's no sprint. That would show up late, in the 4th or 5th entry of the series, depending on how you want to count things. You'd finally get a sprint. And it's a pretty bare bones game. The big thing with those is the sound design was great, the multiplayer was a lot of fun, and then that pivot with the flood, and it has some very grand set pieces that only get grander as the series goes on. Halo 3 has just the set pieces in Halo 3 are just, oh my god! You talk about building to a climax. Halo 3 does that fantastically, but at the same time, you're not an FPS player, really.
I'm not
at all. I don't know if these games were, even at their best, would have ever really spoken to you.
Yeah, it's not something
I would say. Don't play this to Karch. That's what I would say. Do not play these.
I was just about to say
go finish Titanfall 2.
Yeah, it's true. I have only played 45 minutes of that. I'm not ready to write it off yet. Not completely.
I'm ready to write it off for you.
If I were you, go play Reach. Go play Halo Reach. Halo Reach
the
is
RTS?
the prequel. It's the prequel to the original Halo. But it's the last entry made by Bungie, and so it's after it was made after Halo 3 and Halo ODST. It's the best probably in terms of because you're part of a squad in that one, so you got identifiable characters. That one is where Sprint shows up, although it's an armor ability. And the level design and all that is much better. And so if you want something to try to get you excited about the series, I would go play Reach. And Reach is probably all. If you're gonna play one, go play any of them. Go play Reach. And then the only downside of that being like it would be probably very difficult for you to having played Reach to go try to beat Halo 1.
I will take that into consideration. As far as
what was the first Master Chief Collection part that was available on Game Pass? Do you recall?
I think it was either Reach or ODST.
It was Reach.
I was going to say, I thought it was Reach. So I played that with Tyler, and I, as someone who maybe even loved Halo 1, I have nostalgia for Halo 1 because that was probably, I mean, obviously GoldenEye was the first-person shooter that I ever played, but Halo was the like in my memory, I have just such nostalgia for that game of playing through the campaign with Greg, local couch co-op.
Kyle and I doing that.
Yeah, and I love that game. And I thought I could recapture some element of that playing Reach, and I couldn't. It felt like Karch said, it felt empty. It felt like I kept getting lost. It felt like the textures were bad. It felt like when I did encounter the enemies, they honestly weren't that hard to take down. And then it was just a matter of finding the next encounter, which was extremely difficult to do. And I didn't. And I think
you might have played
ugly.
Halo. I don't think you played
It looked
Reach.
ugly. What?
I don't think if
it doesn't sound like you played Reach, is what I'm saying.
Maybe I played the original. I swear I thought I played Reach.
The first, because they separately remastered Halo 1.
Yes.
And then
they came out
with the Master Chief Collection, which remastered Halo 2.
He won't remember. There's no point.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's describing the first one, though.
Yeah, I don't think you played Reach.
Okay, maybe I didn't, but
because one does have that problem. There's a lot of like samey looking hallways, and you're just like, have I been in this hallway? I'm not sure if I've been in this hallway.
This was not out inside that I'm even talking about.
There's outside parts too. Moving on though. We're not talking about why you don't like Halo. We're talking about why I don't like Halo, and I'm done talking about that. So Jason,
great.
Tell us about the next one.
Okay, there is next to no excuse as to why I never played this, but I have never played any of the Metroid Prime trilogy. I had two chances. The original came out in 2002. We had a GameCube. We had a Wii. I lived at home when the trilogy came out. What is my problem? What am I doing with my life?
I don't think you'd like it.
I think I would. I like the idea of a first-person Metroidvania in a relatively small environment with all the awesome aspects of a first-person shooter, but a Nintendo IP.
It's not a first-person shooter. It is a first-person perspective game, but it is not what anybody ever would call a first-person shooter.
It's interesting because I look back when Prime came out, and I was very much in the like I don't like first-person shooters part of my life, so I didn't play it.
I played
playing it and loving it, and then it's hilarious because then I went back, I played Halo, and then the Wii came out, and I played Prime 3. Mm-hmm. And I don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed Prime 3, which is why I later bought Trilogy and played Prime 1 and 2. But yeah, if you're used to like a smooth controlling, twitch firing FPS, the Metroid Prime games are not that.
No, that's not what I want. What I imagine and what I would like is to have some cool weapon elements to the game, but it's ultimately puzzle, and you're figuring out how to get from one, for lack of a better word, biome to the next, and unlocking these areas.
I mean, it's a great game. It's a great game. Prime 1. I have never played 2 or 3. I have the trilogy on the Wii U I picked up from Robert, and, it's just there waiting for me whenever I'm ready. I keep waiting, hoping, but every time, like every 6 months, the rumor just gets dashed even further that the Switch is going to do it.
Did you see the latest that somebody said that it would be very technically difficult to remaster
That's what
these games?
Someone at Retro said who clearly isn't working on it, though. Like, they said that it would be a lot of effort. They didn't say it would be difficult. They said that would be a lot of effort to do if somebody was doing it. But that Retro or whoever that guy was, they wouldn't be in charge of it. Retro's clearly working on Metroid Prime 4. I don't know. I just don't think it's happening. I feel like it would have happened by now.
I agree.
Silly not to have.
But honestly, Nintendo, you're a bunch of cowards.
They are.
You need to do whatever you need to do to get Vicarious Visions to freaking remake this game.
That would be fun. Or
That's what I
Blue
said.
Point.
Vicarious Visions needs to stay focused on remaking KOTOR.
Well, okay,
And,
you're
and
right.
remaking
you're right.
/ finishing KOTOR 2.
When you're right, you're right.
Wait, Vicarious Visions is currently working on Diablo 2, isn't it?
Who's the one? No, sorry. Who's the one who's been doing all the Star Wars games? They did Outcast and Pod Racer. And
I don't know.
starts with an A. Dang it. Well, we'll have a corrections for next podcast.
Great. We're going to have a corrections now, guys.
Yeah, this is a game I would love to play with you, but there's just no way to play it. Like, again, we could play it on a Wii U, but you're not here, and you can whatchamacallit, you could emulate it, but that's difficult and not fun because emulation of anything past like the SNES is always a kind of a crapshoot. So, Sean, do you have
wait. So you're thinking even with Project Dolphin being as good as it is, I couldn't emulate
not saying
this
you
game.
couldn't run it. I'm just saying I don't know. Like there's just how it goes. There's just always a technical hurdle to get through.
It's
not
a
that it
pain in the
can't-
butt.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get into it and you're like, great, the textures aren't right or whatever. Like,
Right.
it's not worth it. I'm
get-
gonna wait for that inevitable Switch remake. And you were right, by the way. Vicarious Vision is working on the
Aspire.
Diablo 2.
Aspire has been doing all the Star Wars games
Yeah, that sounds
with
familiar.
a Y.
Okay, that's my next one. Sean, do you have another one queued
I
up?
do. I have another
Go.
general category, which builds off of my previous general category,
Go for it.
which is I didn't own a Sony console, minus barring Karch's PS1 to beat Final Fantasy VII until PS4. So everything that's a Sony exclusive for pretty much the entire existence of the PlayStation, I missed. It's just a blank spot in my gaming. So
It's a lot
Wow.
of games.
yeah, I've played God of War, I've played Final Fantasy VII, I've played Final Fantasy VII Remake.
You gotta play The Last of Us. You
That's
gotta play
insane.
Uncharted, dude.
So I want to play Uncharted. I really have always wanted to play Shadow of the Colossus. And
That's
I know
one
that got
I would
remastered
like to
recently.
play. That's I have the Fallout games, but I'm gonna talk about that in a second. Shadow of the Colossus. Is
And
my
then
big-
I think I had I have Horizon Zero Dawn and The Last of Us remastered. I just haven't played them. I'm still not sure I want to play The Last of Us games. So if you want to convince me again that this is the time to
play
do it.
the
but, like,
Uncharted games first, and if
Yeah.
you're still craving more, you can go to The Last of Us. And I think the advance, what's the word? The progression of Naughty Dog's progression as a developer will carry you through anything you might not love about the story.
Okay.
That's interesting because I'd almost say it opposite. I'd almost say that the gameplay
But
in
he doesn't
Uncharted's
want
better.
to. He doesn't want to. Oh, I see what you mean. As
The
a
gameplay
whole
to
package,
me,
though.
As a whole package,
Yeah.
well, and I don't even know if that's true for The Last of Us 2. Like, I would put The Last of Us 2.
We're not even talking about
gameplay-wise-
2. We're talking about the first one. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Let's not get ahead. Okay, fine. So yeah, I would say that's a good order to play it, but I would say that Uncharted mechanically is better than the original The Last of Us, but obviously the story is better with The Last of Us. And I would also say that only play Uncharted 1 until you can't stand it anymore, and then move to 2. Because 1 is terrible and 2 is actually decent.
Okay. I mean, I know they did a remaster of like 1, 2, and 3 a while back.
I have them. Yeah, I have that collection of 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
I do not have 4.
But
So.
I mean, if I'm gonna go pick a game off this list, it's gonna be the next one we play. It might be Shadow of the Colossus, or it's gonna be Horizon Zero Dawn before I get to Uncharted.
That's fair.
What was the last open world game you played, Sean?
Skyrim.
I think you're overdue, man. I think you're overdue for one.
But are you being literal? Like, you played Skyrim this past week, but what's the last open world game? You played The Witcher, you hated it.
I didn't hate The Witcher. I just thought
Okay.
it controlled like crap.
Oh, that's fine. What's the last
I thought it
open
wasn't
world-
fun.
What's the latest open world game that you've played, not taking into consideration Skyrim?
Oh, let me look at the game sitting underneath my chair.
They're just under here. I keep them here. Sit on them warm. Like a mother hen.
He's gonna hatch him.
All right. None of those are open world games. The only one I've got is Skyrim.
Okay. I think it's due. I think you're over.
Skyrim and The Witcher.
Shadow of Colossus is supposedly a seminal game, and it's not that long. Neither is Horizon though. Horizon Zero Dawn, you might fall in love with it and want to like do everything, and obviously that'll extend the playtime. But if you're not loving it that much but still enjoying it, obviously you can critical path it. I couldn't get Jason to play it, but I could get you to play it.
I played it.
You played it for
all of it.
You played it for like a couple hours.
I got
you complained
to that city.
how not like Breath of the Wild it was for every single second.
That's probably the actual answer. Would be Breath of the Wild.
You're not going to like Horizon Zero Dawn if you like.
I think you. Oh, shut up! Shut up!
The combat's so good. The traversal is so bad.
Yeah, but it's no worse than every other non-Breath of the Wild game out there.
You're right.
No worse.
Like I had the same problem with Mad Max.
It can't be worse traversal than Skyrim.
Exactly.
Well, no, because in Skyrim there's jank to make up for the lack of. Like you can hop up a mountain. That's fine. In Horizon, good luck. You can't even walk up a hill.
The thing is, you don't have to. Like, there's no. It's an illusion that there's anything to go to. Like, it's not about traversal. It's not about exploration in that sense.
I know you're right, and it still bothered me.
I know.
Because then why even put it?
I don't know. But we're not going to argue that here now. So.
We're not. But
yeah, Sean's got a gigantic blind spot when it comes to Sony games.
Basically, all of Sony is a blind spot to me.
Comparatively, I don't, but I also do because I never had a PS2 and I never had a PS3. And so I missed... And yet, somehow, over the years, I did pick up pieces of things.
I say, like, I'm sure there's game like what Shadows of Colossus was a PS2 game. I'm sure there's games on the PS3 that I don't even know or that exist. I've just forgotten because I didn't have the consoles, so I didn't pay attention.
Yeah,
and you're getting into that college period too, where I just wasn't playing video games.
Right. Yeah, PS3 is my biggest blind spot of probably any console. Period. Because I to this day have never owned one, and so of course I've only played what was on Robert's when I was over at his house. All right, Jason. You've got two more, so you go.
Yeah, I do. Okay. So I'll make this one quick, but like I have never played any of the Dark Souls games extensively anyway.
I don't think any of us have, right?
Nope.
This is the only one I think where none of us have played.
Does not interest me.
Hey, look at that. I started Bloodborne and I've started Dark Souls 3. If I was gonna pick one of those between those two, I would probably pick Dark Souls 3. The combat's a little faster, a little less laborious than Bloodborne. Bloodborne's a little slower, a little methodical, maybe closer to like Monster Hunter. I don't know that I would ever actually pick up this game. I honestly, I think if I was ever going to play something from Software, it'd probably be that Sekiro.
That was what I was going to say. That would be my choice too.
Yeah. It had that verticality aspect. It had that grappling hook. It had that was a fun game that I could see like wanting to get good at. Whereas Dark Souls just seemed so insurmountable. Like you got to the first boss and they're just like, "Pah, you're dead. One hit. That's it." And so, did you get the rhythm? Did you understand what I was doing there? I'm going to do the same pattern every time, but I'm going to freaking slaughter you until you master the exact timing of the buttons. And at that point, like it almost is like it's a stupid rhythm game without music. Like you have to do things a certain way at a certain time or you're dead. And that just doesn't appeal to me. The aesthetic appeals to me. The tone appeals to me.
I say the aesthetic is almost what appeals to me the least, or the tone is almost what appeals to me the least.
I hate myself, so it appeals to me. Like I don't want to.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. But if I was gonna pick one, probably Sekiro. But in reality, like I'm never gonna play any of these games because I simply don't have the time to get good at them. And if I'm not gonna get good at them, I'm not gonna have fun with them at all.
Right.
So I should just suck it up and play that Insomniac game that was kind of like Sekiro that I didn't play.
Insomniac game, that's what?
It's the Japanese.
Oh, you mean the game that's nothing like it at all? But
yes.
Except that it has people who have like katanas.
Right.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Correct.
Oh, speaking of which, That's a game I'd love to play. Add that to my list of Sony exclusives.
That's an
that's
awesome
on
game.
Mooch, dude. Mooch.
It's the newest of all those Sony exclusives that you could play.
It's right there. It's sitting there waiting for you on Karch's account.
That one's a little bit longer than you will get lost in that game.
I got to beat Final Fantasy VII and apparently replay Mass Effect. Someone's got to make content for this channel.
Someone does. Ain't gonna be us.
No, not at all.
I just real quick on the Dark Souls thing, because I booted up Bloodborne, made my character, walked around for 4 seconds, remembered why I couldn't stand Dark Souls 3, and deleted it off my PS5.
Nice.
I liked the very little I played of Sekiro while I was at your house, though, and it's something that I haven't given up on yet, but it is pretty low on my backlog.
Fair enough.
But one day, when it's on sale, if the timing's right, I'll click that buy button, and I'll give it a good, honest try. Because I like punishing combat, but I don't like what I've seen and played of the other 4, and maybe Elden Ring if it ever comes out, whatever that's their next game.
Yeah. My threshold for punishing combat's more like a God of War level where you can have fun doing it, but then there's like this other level you can get to.
Right. There's a God of War mode. All right, my last one, courtesy of Sean via the inspiration, is Shadow of the Colossus. That is a game that I have just not... I don't know why I haven't pulled the trigger on it, especially after the remaster. I almost did several times. And I said the same thing about BioShock, and I didn't like that game at all. So maybe I'm just gun shy, but just one of those, like, I love a good atmospheric game. That was one of the best things about Returnal. That's why I love Metroidvanias. I like inserting my own narrative, not like role-playing, but like just...
It's that walking into a world that clearly already exists, but you don't know everything about.
And you never will.
So you're trying to like make sense of it, and so there is this. It's not role play, but it's not world building, but it's making your own story out of the clues they give you.
I guess it's immersion is the best way to describe it. Like I love that really immerses you.
You should check out Prey. It's on Game Pass.
Why should I check out Prey?
It's
talking about
like
Shadow of the Colossus. Why would I check out Prey?
You talked about BioShock and atmospheric, actually, and that is Prey. It's like, you know what I mean?
But I said I didn't like BioShock.
You said you like an atmospheric game like Returnal. I was just saying that is one where you walk into a world that already exists, and it's almost like Control meets BioShock from the first... I played like the first 5 hours of Prey.
You're not. You're doing the opposite of selling it for me.
Okay, don't play it.
I'm not saying
Never
I will
play it. Don't touch it. You dare.
Don't get your dirty hands off of it. But yeah, Shadow of the Colossus, it's probably like $20, maybe less. There's no reason I shouldn't get it at some point.
You wanna split?
Maybe, yeah, sure. Not right now. Some point. When I'm ready, I'll let you know, and then we can split it.
Okay.
Super duper. All right, Jason, give us your last one.
All right, my last one, speaking of games Karch doesn't like, BioShock Infinite.
I haven't played this one, so I don't know if I don't like it.
That's a big difference between that and BioShock.
Yeah, I remember this game coming out. So it came out in 2013. I know I have my years right there.
Yes.
And I had never played any other BioShock game at that time, but I was very intrigued by the art style. And I only had a Wii U and a 3DS, so I just literally could not play this game. But I remember trying to, I looked so hard. I was like, can my MacBook run BioShock Infinite? It could not. And so I never played it. It is the return of Ken Levine as the lead writer and creative director. So he had been absent during the second entry. And there are 7 years separating BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite, and I loved BioShock 1 when I originally played it. I played the remastered PS4 version that came out, I want to say it was like circa 2015, 2016, somewhere in there, and I beat it. I had that trilogy, and I never played 2 or 3, and then I sold my PS4. So I rebought that trilogy. I split it with Karch on the Switch. But I for some reason I started to, and I just couldn't get through it. Maybe I should just abandon that and start Infinite. I don't know.
I would recommend that. Yeah.
Sounds like you could, especially since you've beaten the first one. So any connections?
So besides a couple head nod, wink wink, nudge nudge references, playing 1 is not gonna matter at all when it comes to understanding 3 or Infinite. Playing 2 does not, it never even gets mentioned at all in Infinite. And the exception being if you play the Under the Sea or Revenge of the Sea, or there's a DLC for Infinite that references heavily back to BioShock 1.
Gotcha.
So I would skip 2 and go to Infinite. Infinite is a far superior game than 2.
Okay, I'm finding it difficult now that I've spent so much time playing first-person shooters on my PC. I'm finding it difficult to go back and play them on console. That's one of the things I was worried about with Mass Effect, because I told you like I was expecting KOTOR, and so I thought like the pointing and clicking aspect would be cumbersome on the console. Obviously, with it being kind of like cover shooter, that's not an issue. But with the first-person mechanics of BioShock, I worry about it a little bit, trying to go back and playing something like that on console. But
I mean, those BioShock specifically and Mass Effect specifically are really designed around the controller, though, more than maybe like a Call of Duty would be. Not that you won't still feel that way, but
the you're coming off of Titanfall. I mean, the pace is going to be slower. So that ability to twitch and shoot real fast, it's so useful in Titanfall is not nearly as important in BioShock.
Sure, I just so
even
wish
with the railings.
I so wish that the Switch port had the tilt controls like they have in Splatoon, or even they have it in that Bethesda game, Wolfenstein. The second one. There you can use your control sticks to aim, but you can fine tune that.
Yeah, you get that last little bit.
Exactly, and that if it had that. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because you're there for the story, you're there for the atmosphere, you're there for the cool weapons and that sort of thing. But
you're there for Elizabeth shouting, "Booker, catch!"
No, I'm not there for that.
But yeah, that's my last one.
I got spoiled on the story for it, so it's hard for me to want to go play it.
That would be tough. Yeah,
I didn't. Somehow I didn't.
Deal. It's a pretty big deal. It's not a somehow thing. It's like I just spent so long never expecting to play it, and just reading so many podcasts and all that stuff. Eventually, it was going to happen if I didn't click away, and I just didn't. I was like, I'm probably not going to play it. And
that's a hard thing for me with Sony games. Like I know how Shadow of the Colossus ends, but that game's not about the story. It's about the battling the giant monsters.
Right.
And so, but like, I don't know how. I've never really read anything about Uncharted. And then, when you start getting to more recent ones, I started being like, I can afford a PlayStation now. Maybe I won't spoil these games for myself.
Yeah.
But for much of like the PS1, PS2, PS3, it's like, I'm not going to play that game. I'll just read what happens so that I can be a part of the the conversation and in the know within the community.
Cool. Well, we got a lot of blind spots.
Yeah, we do. Do either of you think you'll play any of the games on your blind spot list?
Let's see.
Yes.
No, I don't.
That says so much about your personality.
I will. I mean, Karch knows what he likes. Props to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Aren't you going to go play Shadow of the Colossus?
Well, okay, I'm sorry. I just scrolled up and literally looked at the list that I had. I didn't do a good job on this list. I just kind of jotted some things down and real quick, and then we abandoned the idea to go stream, so I never came back around to it. If I'd had more time, and I looked at it earlier today, I was like, it's good enough. And then when I came back tonight, I was like, this kind of sucks. Yes, I will try to play Shadow of Colossus.
That's fair.
I definitely. I mean, we already talked about Final Fantasy 6. I mean, I played 7, but 6 and 9. And like there's a lot of PS4 or game Sony games available on the PS4 rather that are PS4 or remasters from earlier that I want to play. I don't think I'm ever going to go and play GTA 5. Katie and I enjoy joking about going on a crime spree, but I don't think we'll ever pull the trigger.
If
and
you ever, when you get your PC,
playing Dragon Age.
When you get your PC, I have it on Steam. I will share my library with you, and if you want,
I think it's on. At least it was for a while. I take it back. I don't think it's on anymore. It was on Game Pass for a while.
Oh, okay.
I mean, let's face it. It's just not my type of setting in general. So
yeah, right. That's fair.
Crime.
Sean doesn't really do modern.
Yeah, I think out of my list, I will probably try at some point in my life, no time soon, Fallout New Vegas, that Splinter Cell game, and then BioShock Infinite. Like those are probably the 3 that out of my 5 that I actually do want to play.
Sure.
Make sure you capture and interrogate people in Chaos Theory because a lot, like not all of them, but some of them have very funny lines of dialogue.
Okay. Noted.
Sam Fisher is a bit of a twisted human being.
Noted. Is that all we have, guys?
That's all we got.
That's all we have for this episode. So, for the first time in, I don't know what, it feels like 2 months.
Oh, no.
I will say, later, skater. I love this podcast. I love video games, and I love you too, lovely NFers. That is all we have for you today. You all have a fantastic week. We will try, but we are never free to play.
Secretly love Final Fantasy 3. I just don't want anybody to know.
What?
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 What?